Board of Selectmen for Tuesday, December 11th will come to order. This meeting is being broadcast live by Stoughton Media Access. It's also being recorded for rebroadcast and availability over the internet. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please remain standing? Chief Larissy.
Chairman O'Regan, members of the board, I'm just going to sit briefly. This past Sunday, the Worcester Fire Department had a line-of-duty death. The firefighter has been identified as Christopher Roy, 36 years old. He was trapped on the second floor of a three-story, six-unit building at 7 Lowell Street at a 5-alarm fire. Firefighter Roy has been a Worcester firefighter for 2.5 years and leaves behind an 8-year-old daughter, his parents, and a brother. He was assigned to Ladder 4, Group 3 at the Webster Square Station and was a Shrewsbury resident. The death comes one day after the anniversary of the death of Worcester firefighter John Davies, Sr., who died fighting an apartment fire in Worcester on December 8, 2011. And 6 days after the 19th anniversary of the Worcester cold storage and warehouse fire, which claimed the lives of 6 Worcester firefighters. As we hear the news of another member of the fire service losing his or her life in the line of duty, it is another painful reminder for the men and women of the Stoughton Fire Department, active and retired, of the tragic loss of one of our own firefighters, Victor Melende. Firefighter Melende died in the line of duty on January 28, 1995. Firefighter Melende left behind his wife Carol and 3 children, Christopher, Lisa, and Kerry. January 28, 2019 will be Firefighter Melende's 23rd anniversary of his ultimate sacrifice to the community of Stoughton. At this time, I respectfully ask the board to recognize a moment of silence for Worcester firefighter Christopher Roy and our very own firefighter Victor Melende.
Thank you, Chief. There are a number of firefighters here. If any of you wish to come up and say anything? I think on behalf of the community, please know we all understand the service you give to the town. We appreciate it, and we all understand you're all brothers and sisters in service, and we appreciate what you're feeling and how you will honor firefighter Roy in the coming days. Thank you. First order of business on the agenda is citizens' comments. Ms. Walsh.
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. As the aunt of a firefighter and the sibling of 2 police officers, there's nothing worse than the phone ringing in the middle of the night, especially when you know that they're working. Since I spoke about the 11% increase in the average home's property taxes, many people felt that I was emphasizing seniors, and I probably was because I'm a senior. But I've also been informed by other parties that it's especially a burden on young families. Many of those homes still have mortgages. School-age children pay bus fees, activity fees, and other fees. Water bills are higher because there's more people in the house, and if you have sewer, that'd be higher too. There's usually a necessity for having at least one car, if not two, so that both parents can work. And even though they're not receiving a pension that is as limited as mine, their time is limited. If they're working two jobs, it limits the amount of time they can spend with family and particularly their children. So that any tax increase over 2.5 is a burden on everyone, virtually in Stoughton. Maybe if we were in Wellesley or Dover, it wouldn't be such a big bite. But in Stoughton, there's a lot of folks that are living literally from paycheck to paycheck. And if there's an interruption in that, statistics say that 40% of all Americans can't go a week without a paycheck. So that we have to be aware, and I have to be aware of too, that it isn't just me and seniors. Seniors have some benefits. We get a discount on our trash. We get a discount on our water. The state gives us money back if our property taxes are a lot higher than our income. Young families don't have that. I know you can deduct mortgage interest, but I'm pretty sure you can't deduct the fees, those school fees. And if you have 4 kids, there's no bulk rate. If you have 4 kids who want to ride the bus, or you have 4 kids that want to each have an activity, that's times whatever the charge is. So when you are working on the budget, please be aware that it isn't just seniors you need to worry about. You need to worry about all the working families in Stoughton.
Mr. Laurie.
Thank you, David Lurie, 18 Robinette Road. Thank you for letting me speak. It's very rare when I have a compliment for the Board of Selectmen, so I want to take this opportunity to do so. I didn't expect.
Slow down.
Yeah.
We want to savor this.
Want to savor it.
Go ahead.
You should. I didn't know what to expect in the town manager search. I didn't expect great things to occur, but in the short time that I've watched Ms. Muxian in the role of town manager, it looks like you've got a real professional, somebody who can actually look out for the town in a very objective way and actually guide the decisions you're making. And I just want to extend congratulations for a good decision on that. So
Thank you
that's
very
to
much.
start with. I do have a couple points that I want to make that are not as complimentary, but I think it's important to state. I was listening to the meeting last week, and it didn't seem like the conversation you were having about the public safety building was in line with what actually happened during the special. So during the special, you saw a vote that was 1/3 in favor of your idea, where you needed a 2/3 vote. It's completely upside down. In other words, if you're trying to find an idea that's going to actually succeed, you should think about how town meeting is voting, so that you're actually coming up with something that's in line with what the town wants. I mean, the people in town meeting are representing the people in their precinct. I would think that in some respect there's got to be some listening to what the constituents are saying so that it guides the decisions, because at the end of the day, you're going to pick the location, probably to some level the scope, but I think the scope was one of the problems because you're trying to join the police and fire together, so you got this monstrosity of a building that doesn't fit in the ideas that you were pursuing. You also had the fact that it was short, it was very quick, as Selectman Cavey was mentioning. It was not enough time to evaluate. And you lost a core constituency of people who otherwise would vote with you, the people who are the land conservation people, who didn't want to see this building treading on land conservation. So during the same meeting, a vote happened that was very informal. It was hands, just want to see, raise your hand if you don't want the police and fire in the same building. There was no map that said, these easements have to be watched out for, and it wasn't a fleshed out idea. It was just, are you in favor of separating the two? And more than half of the people in the room raised their hand. So even without a real thought-out motion, we were able to get enough hands to at least get more than a majority. So maybe if your idea for a location was at the scale of what a single fire station would warrant, you would save money on capital budgeting, it would be in line with what the town wanted, and you'd get the votes, and it would be done. I would think that a single-purpose building would be a lot easier than a dual-purpose building. Not to mention, as Ms. Walsh, sitting behind me, mentioned during special, it's a young building, so yeah, even if there's deficiencies, you don't like the airflow, you don't like the roofing, you don't like those things. The fact
Mr.
is,
Laurie,
yeah,
we try to keep these to 2 to 3 minutes.
understood.
Could you
So
wrap up,
I
please?
actually, yeah, I had another point too, but fix the police station. Every home has, after 20 years, the need to sink money into it. I just sunk $30,000 into my house for home improvement because my house is 25 years old. Naturally, a building will need a new roof, it'll need some ventilation repair, it'll need some things, and not to mention, you also have a community room. I want to finish on this. There's a community
Well,
room which is at
please-
least 1,200 square feet in that
Please
police
finish,
department.
Mr. Laurie.
The police department has a 1,200-plus square foot community room that right now, the new library has plenty of community room space. You could decommission the community room at the police station and turn it into usable space for the expansion requirements they have at the police station. It seems logical that that would be a direction you took. The other thing is that on the budgeting, it looked like you were trying to get level service. I don't see level service when the school department
Take another
is
half a
asking
minute,
for-
please, and then wrap
yeah,
up.
4.5%.
Mr. Laurie.
They're asking for 4.5%, and they're playing poker with themselves, holding cards back to see what the town comes back with. What happened to level service? I didn't see it happen. You know, your role is to set the levy. You knew what the numbers were because free cash and new growth were available to you. So you could have said, hey, everybody, we know that you're not going to be able to spend X. But that never happened. So you waited until everybody came forward with their numbers, and now there's a big hole in the budget with the school holding back with 4.5%, maybe 4% if you're lucky. I just wanted to say that last.
Anyone else? Dick? Oh, okay. Come on up, Mr. Richards. You were just being polite. There you go.
Hi, Peter Ventresco, Precinct 8. Just want to touch on what Cynthia had to say. She's absolutely right. The young and the elderly cannot afford this. And last year's tax hike of 3-something and this year's tax hike of 5-something, and the CPA comes to $1,000 for a house in a $300,000 range. That's a big hit in 2 years for anybody. But that being said, I agree with the previous speaker as far as on the safety buildings. It's way too big. And I had this conversation with the fire chief a few months back about the station that he was in. The outside is in good condition. Inside, it's outdated and it needs to be brought up to date and livable standards. So I suggested if we bought the building right behind them, the metal building, so that give them an exit on Porter Street and an entrance on Freeman Street. And if we put up a couple of space buildings, which space buildings are pretty cheap, that could house the fire department for the year it takes, or 2 years, and that would work out. And the chief said to me, we don't have to spend that kind of money, because in one of the towns he worked in the past, they didn't put up space buildings, they put up tents. It's heated, air-conditioned, showered, laboratories, kitchen, and it housed all the equipment and the men. And it's cheap way to go. And I think that's the way we should go. That's a historical building, that fire station. We should take some pride in that, like Brockton does on Station 1. Edison's first light bulb is still in the attic and still working. They take pride in that building. They added on to it over the years, but people love to work in that building. The State Theater, I think we as a town cannot afford that kind of money. And there's more money to be spent in there than what we think. And then if you do decide to buy it, and you make it a historical building, and the thing's up and running, and someplace down the line in 20 years, the thing goes under financially, it's going to be a hard sell because it's a historical building. So now we got a big white elephant sitting in the town and no tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dick Fitzgerald, Precinct 3 Chairperson, Chairman of the Facilities Master Plan Committee, and I'm coming to you this evening under citizens' comments that having just gone through the special town meeting and saw the article that came forward for the public safety building, I'm here to offer my help, but here to offer the help of the Facilities Master Plan Committee. You people have an awful lot on your plate. Really, I don't know how you do it, quite honest with you. I sat in your seats, so there's a lot going on. I think that the committee, the Facilities Master Plan Committee, can help you people, help all of you. Ms. Howe and the gentleman, I should say lady and gentlemen, I think we could help you. We put together the high school. That came from us. We've done over $14 million in repairs to the school buildings, from the OMS right down to the elementary, outside of the South School. But we have our meeting tomorrow evening. The purpose of me coming here this evening was to offer that. I haven't presented it to the committee. I would like to, but I'd like to be able to go back to them and say that the Board of Selectmen would be interested in meeting with us or sitting down with us. Why am I saying this? Because we have the avenue to get in touch with the people who could help you in regards to a public safety building. It appeared to me, as a member of Precinct 3, that it was all over the place. I'd stand corrected if somebody can tell me something different, but it appeared to me that you were pretty much all over the place. There was a comment made at the annual that you'd come back with a site, and it appeared to be like a last-second decision. That's done and that's over with. So I think you have to go forward. I think we can help you. I think we can give you some expertise, what our committee can do for you. So personally, myself, I offer myself to this board to help you out. There is a great avenue available to you through DRA, whom is our, as Ms. Howe and Mr. Hill will tell you, is our architect on the high school project. They were the designers of the first Facilities Master Plan Committee, of the second. They know the town very, very well. But they have a very unique department in their operation out of Connecticut, which is for public safety primarily with fire buildings. So I offer that. It's your decision. I'll help out in any way I can, but I think there's a lot of different things that you should look at before just, let's go out and build a building. Is it a public safety building? Are there other avenues to look at? I am not an advocate of the armory, or at least I wasn't until this afternoon. But I talked with somebody in town, and he said, Fitzy, there's a lot of things that can be done. Many years ago, there was a plan to put a station on Central Street. That went through. Freeman Street, and maybe a second or third location. I know it's far-ranged, but I think what the town needs is to be able to talk to somebody that can give us and you ideas, Because right now, what we seem to be doing as a town is, and I don't want to take paraphrase from you, we're kicking the can down the road, but the can's not advancing.
I agree with you.
But the can's not advancing, okay? And the problem is that we're thinking inside the box, and those of you in town meeting who have listened to me over the last 40 years, I said you have to think outside the box. And that's something we have to start to do. Right now, this board is going into licenses tonight. You've got budgets to do. You've got warrant articles to design. And I offer my services to Paul, through you to Paul, and Paul's on our committee, and I'll discuss it with the committee. But this committee can help you out and get it going and design something in some manner with the help of other people and perhaps bring it back to you. It might not be a situation that they come back to you and say, okay, Town of Stoughton, we suggest you build a public safety building. Instead, we suggest you do other avenues, other things, other plans, and work with it. There was a previous speaker, and I don't mean to tie up all the time. I got one other thing after this, though, public safety. The previous speaker talked about the building on Rose Street. Not sure how many sitting here looking at me have toured their building. The building should never have been built there. Never have been built there. It has water problems. It has a more severe water problem that creeps up in heavy rains with water filtrating into the building from a manhole cover over at the Sally Ports. So Chief McNamara is faced with a lot of situations at that building. Don't know if it's a situation where we want to invest money into it, but we're going to find out if we can from experts. And we might as well try to not confront them, might as well try to bring this forward to them, see what they say. So, not to tie you up a lot on that, I'll offer my services, it's your decision. We will be meeting tomorrow night. I will bring this forward to the committee. Our agenda tomorrow night is to start the meeting, reorganize the Facilities Master Plan Committee. So I might not be coming back to you as chairman, but former chairman maybe, that sounds pretty good. But they're a very, very, very good group of people, very intelligent people, people who do hard work. And again, the high school, this building, Lucius Clapp building, over $14 million on the school side. And just to touch base though, the school department has one thing that you people can't have. See, we go through an accelerated repair program with SOIs, and we can get 50% back. You can't do that on the municipal side, although we'll look for it. The other thing is that there's so much on the plate that's going to be happening in a very short period of time. We have an SOI out there for the South School. Just so I know you people know, but for the people at home, the South School was actually, when it was looked at back in 05 and then again in 07, 08, that was in more need of repairs and service than the high school. And the SBA said you should do that building first. So that's why the SOI is out there. So I won't talk any more about the public safety or those buildings. I will make a comment. The word on the town, I have a business in town here. I work with John Russell at the Russell Agency. And I have contact with people all day long. And I have family and friends. Some people know me in this town. The bottom line is we can't afford to keep buying buildings that we can't repair the buildings we have. And I see in your agenda tonight you're going into executive session. I know I can't talk about things, but take a long look at not spending any money for the State Theater. It just is not going to be the thing that we need to do at this time. We need a public safety building or public safety buildings or something to help out these people, both places. We have an SOI for the South School, and we have a lot of work to do on the buildings that we have. So we'll be coming back to you with articles for that. But I didn't mean to tie up your time. I appreciate you listening to me, but I offer it to the board to help you out, and we'll present this to our committee tomorrow night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dick.
Anyone else? No. Anyone else? Mr. Hill?
I'm sorry, no.
All right. Let's go to the town manager's report.
Thank you. Just a couple things briefly. First, I would like to thank Tim Davis from the Recreation Department for putting together the Festival of Lights Parade. It was very successful. I had a great time, personally, on a side note. Amazed at how many people from town came out. I also want to thank Public Safety, Police, and Fire for great representation at that, as well as Public Works. DPW had a real cool float with lots of the good toys on it. And so again, thanks to Recreation for pulling that all together. There's a library ribbon cutting at 2 o'clock on Saturday, just to remind the public as well as the board. You should have all received a memorandum from me. You had asked for a memorandum on the police, fire, public safety situation. To the last speaker's point, I particularly emphasize some of the issues with the police department. I think that the Station 1 issues are pretty well noted, so we focused a little bit more on police concerns, police station concerns, which are a combination of structural facility issues and some space and storage issues, which may potentially become an accreditation issue. So that memorandum outlines that. We are continuing with budget discussions on the internal budget team. Obviously, that's a priority. And finally, just an update on transition. It's been a real cool, for lack of a better word, kind of a fun and cool first few weeks. I've got to meet a lot of people. Several people have stopped by. I encourage the public to continue to do so. And Mr. Tisdale has continued to be a tremendous support for me. Today, we actually spent a few hours driving around the perimeters of town and looking at the gateways in. And I think that that's a priority of mine as well as his. We also looked at the park sewer line. He took me for a tour of that. Engineer that he is, he felt the need to take me on that. But I do think critically looking at the gateways in from the surrounding communities is something else I'd like to prioritize in addition to the downtown development with the board. So I thank you for that, and we're ready to roll.
Any questions to the town manager?
Yeah, just one question. I read the memorandum, and as you mentioned today, that you mentioned that you have a concern about accreditation of the police station. Is this a general concern, or are the things that specifically concern you? We don't have to go into the detail, but are there things that where you know that we might have a real potential problem?
Yes, I did touch base, it was last week with the deputy chief who spoke with the accreditation manager. When I read some of the reports on some of the evidence storage concerns, not to get into too much detail, but the potential for that to be a ding on us for accreditation is real. That is a real concern.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Moving on to selectmen's comments. Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Give me a second, please. I'd like to echo the town manager's comments for Tim Davis. He did a terrific job, he and Matt, in getting that parade organized and executed. It was well done. I think we kind of got broken up along the way a little bit, but it was terrific. Maybe next year we can get sunglasses or something standing behind all those police and fire engines with strobe lights flashing. It was a little blinding. There was another menorah lighting the other night that Bob and I were able to attend out at Cobb's Corner, so we appreciate being invited to that and be able to participate and celebrate with that. So now that there are two within the town limits of Stoughton, so the lighting that we did at Town Center now out at Cobb's Corner at the Shell Station. So. Of course, the library grand opening was mentioned, so the other things will be in offline. So that's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
No comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I just want to echo what's been said about the Parade of Lights and all of the town employees, especially Recreation Department, who made that possible, but it couldn't have happened without police, fire, DPW, Recreation Department. and across the town. It was a great event. Great to see the new town manager there. Next year, we're going to get some lights for you so people can see you.
I had a ball.
Tonight is license renewals. We have 2 initial hearings. There's not a large crowd here, but just in case somebody's sitting behind, is anyone here for a license renewal that's on the major list? I see Nicole here. She's a separate agenda item. Is anyone here for general license renewals? Okay, so the first license issue is an application on a transfer of business for common victuals license to the Old Country Pizzeria. Anybody here for that? Come on up. Good evening. So could you tell us your name and what it is you'd like to do?
My name is Atef Henin, A-T-E-F.
Can you pull that forward so we can hear you?
Sure. My name is Atef Henin. We try to establish the business with the Old Country Pizzeria. Actually, we are in business for over 10 years, and we're thinking that's the right time to move on for our own business, so we decided to buy it, and I mean, we applied for all the license with the Board of Health, like, you know, the business license, and we try, you know, to do the best service for the community of Stoughton and with the best quality of food and service as much we can. So
We have recommendations from the police department. Police department has no objection to the application. From the tax collector, taxes are current. And that's it from the town departments. The application appears to be in order. Have you started to operate?
no, not yet, sir.
When do you expect to change for the,
We actually
store
will
to
have
change
a
hands.
set up time for closing tomorrow morning at the attorney office, so
all right. Any questions from the board?
Just a quick question out of curiosity. Are the previous or the current owners, are they still going to be working there at all, or are they?
actually he's going to be staying with us for quite like 4 weeks or so for the transition, so.
Okay. Is it going to be similar
Yeah,
menu
we're going to
items?
keep everything. Actually, it's a successful business for too many years, and
Okay.
he's really doing good, so we'll try to keep everything the same, so.
That's my family's go-to Greek salad establishment.
Yeah, a lot
so I
of
want to
people,
make
I
sure
met
that
a lot of
that's.
people. When I got the shotgun certificate, I met the people from the fire department. Actually, they tell me the same. They like the Greek salad with grilled chicken, so
Sure.
we're keeping the whole recipe, so
Sure.
thank you.
You mentioned that you had a previous business. Where were you working
No,
before?
actually, I have the business in West Bridgewater,
Okay.
Star Pizza in West Bridgewater. It's over like 30 years. I've been there for over 6 years now. So we're doing good so far. So.
Excellent. Well, I don't have any questions on the application.
Any other questions?
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the common victualler license for Old Country Pizzeria.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? That's unanimous. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you for your time.
Will you be open for lunch?
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
All right.
Thank you.
The next item is alcohol license renewal for Nicole's at 63 Wyman Street. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Could you tell us your name?
Nicole Capizzoli.
I asked Ms. Capizzoli to come and present on the renewal of this application, anticipating from last year that there were some questions on this. And she was kind enough to invite folks to tour the facility that she's renovating. I thought it would be a good opportunity for her to explain all that's going on in that site and what her plans are. It's one of the first alcohol licenses within the downtown district that was granted. I think the board has a total interest in having these licenses do what they were supposed to do. These were special licenses that we obtained by a special act of the legislature to promote hospitality in the downtown. So that having been said, and you, I think, actually have the first one that was issued.
I do.
So I open the floor to you.
That's been issued.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, just real quick, before we get started, I can't find the information
It's
for
here.
this one.
It's in this packet.
Is it in the handouts?
Yeah. It's just 2 pages.
The blue folder? Thank
Yeah.
you, Sharon. All right, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
2 pages.
Thank you.
It's item 5.
I actually brought some pictures for the selectmen that weren't able to come and take a look, if I could pass them out.
Yeah, thank you very much.
When was the tour?
Whenever you wanted to go, she invited us, and I was able to get there.
That's okay.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
right.
Thank you.
Town email service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I just wanted to say that I would appreciate you renewing the license tonight. I know that it's been a little bit since this was issued to us, but as you can tell from the pictures, or for the couple of you that were able to come by and take a look at it, we've put a lot of work and a lot of effort into the building. We put on an addition for the kitchen. The dining room is done. We were able to have a family wedding there this past March. The building department gave us a one-day occupancy. And they actually did tell me that I could open as just a bar, but I didn't want to do that because I really want this to be a great restaurant for this town. I grew up here, and you know, I'm here for my life. So I think starting as a bar would get us off on the wrong foot. So I did want to make sure that the kitchen and everything was up and running before we do open. As you can see from the pictures, the kitchen is, I would say, probably about 50% of the way there. I'm hoping to have a soft opening by February and then be in full swing by March, maybe for a St. Patrick's Day party. But, you know, again, any questions that you have, I'd love to answer.
Can I just really quickly, the general public can't see these photos or the inside, but it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
It really looks, it looks like a nice establishment inside.
And the pictures don't do it justice. You can tell how much work has gone in, and she was kind enough to show me the kitchen layout and is proud of how the kitchen is larger than it might need to be in order for the flow to be good and the employees to basically have a good working environment and for the food to come out fast.
I hope so.
So, any other questions?
I'm sorry, which building on Wyman Street is it?
It's 63 Wyman Street. It used to be the Social Club or Whiplash Blue Train.
Oh, Whiplash.
It's at the fork in the road.
Okay, across from there, all right. So you're using their liquor license, or you bought that liquor license?
No.
No, she was issued, I believe, the first special downtown redevelopment all-alcohol license. We got 6 of them from the state as a special
So
request.
that must have been a while ago if you're renewing it?
Right.
When was it first issued? I'm sorry,
About 2.5 years ago, and they renew annually.
Does anybody know how many are remaining? Are there 3 remaining?
I believe so.
That's a question we haven't answered.
Can we ask the town manager to get us an update on that? We've asked that question 2 or 3 times, and
Yes.
thank you. Nicole, what's your date of opening, or what's your projected
I'm hoping to have a soft opening in February.
February?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. I'm sorry I'm ill-prepared for this, but I appreciate the update and the additional information and the pictures, so thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, I have no problem with this. It's it's exciting that, you'll be ready in the spring,
So she
so.
can have it?
You want me to make the motion?
As long as you were talking.
Yeah, sure. There's my agenda. Make a motion to approve the alcohol license renewal for Nicole's located at 63 Wyman Street.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Let us
Appreciate it.
know, and if you need to come back
Absolutely.
for anything, just let Sharon know.
I will. Thank you so much.
You. All right. The next agenda item is renewal of outstanding licenses. The agenda had a list of all of the licenses that are before us tonight, taking up about a little over 8 pages. We published this as a hearing. It's not a formal public hearing, but it's a hearing. If any members of the public wish to be heard on any of the applications for renewal that are on the list, rather than hold you up as we go down the 126 I think there's 126 institutions here, applications, rather than, if you're here for number 125, we don't want to have you wait. Ms. Walsh.
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. I did speak to your administrative assistant because I have a question on Papagino's on 115 Sharon Street, since it's closed. But she informed me you have a color-coded list that says something else other than what I've got in my hand.
It says closed.
It says closed. Do you want to be heard on whether an application should be granted or not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should be granting a license to a business that's closed
It'll be there on the list.
unless the plan is to come in 2 weeks and transfer it to somebody else.
We don't have a license for renewal of that application.
For renewal, I said they were closed.
It's just on the list.
It's on the list because it was outstanding when the list was prepared, so that we would comply with open meeting law. In case it showed up the other day, we would not want to foreclose the ability to consider it.
Okay. So on the list that you have, because our list is just a list. It doesn't say who has re-upped and who hasn't. And is there a key? So I see some light blue, and I see some khaki, and I see some lilac.
No, there's no key. We started out, and then we ended up having to,
So when they're,
We'll have,
you have a column that says department issues.
Ms. Walsh, we're going to go through the list, and part of going through this list for us, we'll ask Sharon to explain how it was prepared.
Okay, well, the other one would be, and it appears that, I don't know how you're going to resolve this, you've got 2 businesses with 2 different licenses at the exact same address, which is illegal.
We'll get there.
Just in a blanket statement for all the licenses. I don't think she's here. And this is specifically for alcohol. I would like our town to follow a policy like Easton, where they actually do stings every 6 months. Now, I realize Easton's a college town, but we abut Easton. If the liquor stores in Easton are being real careful, you can always go into Brockton or Stoughton or a place like that. And I know that you don't have the power to order her to do that. but perhaps the town manager might suggest it at a department meeting. I don't think we've had a sting in a while, and you do warn folks. This isn't a, they don't just jump in. But I really think it's necessary to keep the licensees on their toes, especially when we're getting into the holiday season and the lines are long at the liquor stores. Sometimes people slip up, but we can't afford that kind of slip up because alcohol kills a lot more people than opiates every single day.
You can keep that, I have a copy.
So Sharon, would you give us an overview of our color-coded list?
I did sort it by license for you. The color coding, most of the things that are color coded were some type of issues. And at one point, there were different issues, so I had them in different colors, but then certain things were resolved, and another issue came up, so we just left it highlighted in a color.
Well, how do we tell when we look at this list?
You'll see there's a column saying department issues, which might be Board of Health or Fire Department, and then there's another one that just says issues that would be, does their own grease trap, or didn't bring a receipt in for grease trap, or they paid the ABCC $200 instead of putting it towards us, so they have to get that back. And so one will just say issues and one will say department issues at the top.
Sharon, I just want to make sure we're all looking at the same list. It was the list that's in our blue packet, right?
Yep.
Not the other handout that we had?
It's also in this, it's the same one.
Okay, but the one that was in our blue packet, it's classified by license type?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure we're all looking at the same list as we do this.
So this one is the same?
It's just one is sorted and one's not. So the one in the folder, if you want to go into your folder.
Yeah, I got it, yep. So the one in the packet for additional licensing
Was not sorted originally because I was asked after the fact.
Yep.
So the colors basically just mean there's
There's an issue of
there's
some
some
sort.
piece that's missing from their general application.
Or there's something that it might be a violation of such. Or
Okay.
But it's still existing.
is existing, absolutely.
It's a lot of colors. You like colors.
Well, at that time, not much option. I was putting 3
Sure.
spreadsheets and 2 Word docs into one spreadsheet. Too many pages to go through on different tables, so.
I also requested that all of the department heads be contacted. We hadn't done this before. All of the department heads be contacted, particularly any of the departments with enforcement authority over any of the businesses, to determine whether there was enforcement activity of any kind, whether it resulted in action or not.
Yep.
And we did receive a packet of that information.
Yep, it's all included, and you'll also see it on here. Like I said, there'll be one from Board of Health, there'll be one from Mike Larissy maybe, or,
So one way to proceed, I just throw this out, is to go through and on those license holders where there's no issue flagged for compliance or enforcement, where there's no issue about outstanding information or inspections. Basically, the applications are good, the status is good, and the license holder would ordinarily receive routine approval of the extension. My suggestion is that we go through and entertain a motion to approve those as a preliminary motion, and then that'll give us an exceptions list to work through. Otherwise, if we go one by one, we'll be here for days.
the exceptions list is fairly small, which is nice. So,
Did you want a motion now, Mr.?
I think so, and I think just to make sure that we all are on the same wavelength, there are 8 columns on the chart. The 4th column from the up from the left is a column department issue, so that would be something we received from a department. For example, one Class 2 license holder is under a payment agreement for taxes on the first page. The 5th column is issues, and that would be with the application or processing or something else. And then, I got the numbers wrong. Yes, 6, 7, and 8 are details on the license holder.
And I'd like just to correct one thing. On the first page, you'll see Hugged Motors. She came in later in the day with her surety bond, so that is fixed. It's the pink one, right below the 2 green.
Okay.
Is that the only one?
On this page, it could be fixed, yes. She came in today.
Before we do that, we have a couple that for which there's basically no information.
Yeah, they're color-coded without an issue, or like the first 2 green ones?
No, like the date paid is blank, and it appears that they're either closed or some cases the owner is receiving medical treatment and is closing the business. It's sort of listed like that. I can tell you which ones they are. The reason why I recommend we take those first is because the very first one you see at the top of the page is Zetta's Cuisine is or a Love Story Restaurant LLC. That same restaurant shows up on another page.
Yeah.
And I would just like to clear out anything that we know is like not even going to deal with, so that we don't, it's not, I'm just being pedantic, but I just want to make sure we're not issuing licenses to businesses that don't exist.
Do you want me to explain it?
Yes, please.
It was Ori a Love Story, and then...
Sorry, where are we?
The top of the first page.
The business was Ori a Love Story. Zeta was supposed to buy it out, and she never did. So it's Ori a Love Story again. It never got sold, in other words. The transfer of license, nothing ever happened.
You'll also see it fifth from the bottom on the second page.
So, but it's eligible to renew the license now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And where is it again, Mr. Cavey?
Second page, fifth from the bottom. It's the second dark pink from the bottom.
That one's a duplicate.
Yeah, so what I'd like to propose is that, so there's the top record, right, which is Zetta's Cuisine on the first page. Also American Legion on the first page.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's just go through and Sharon, identify for us which license holders on this list have not submitted an application. And let's just cross those off. For example, if Zeta's Cuisine isn't doing business,
They're not
they have
doing
no application.
Exactly.
American Legion.
American Legion, I was told, is closed.
I'm
But
sorry, where are we again?
First page.
So no application.
All I want to know, I think, is there an application for renewal or not?
No.
If you can go through and tell us from page to page, if there's a name on this list of a license holder and there is no application, then there's nothing before us, and we don't want to make a mistake of renewing a
that's fine.
license that's not there,
Well,
so.
That's fine. Zeta's, there's no app. American Legion, there's no application.
I'm sorry, where is Zeta's?
The very
The
top.
dark green. Oh, sorry. Legion is the dark.
Oh, Zeta's Christine, which was already, okay.
Okay. And on the second page, in yellow, is Casa Portuguesa. They've been closed for a year now, so no app.
Okay.
Papagino's on that same page is closed, no app. I think that's all of the ones that are actually closed.
I'm sorry to be so thick here. What's the problem with Zeta's? They don't have an application?
Zeta's was somebody that was supposed to take over or buy or a Love Story. They didn't.
Right.
The sale never went through. So they never got a license. How they ended up on this list to begin with, I don't know. But the girl, Ori, however you say her name, I'm sorry, came in from Ori Love Story and told Reggie and I, and that's why we put that in the issue, so you knew that it was no such thing as Zeta's.
Okay, so to clarify, the very first one, Zeta's, is not even supposed to be here, right?
Correct.
So that should come off the list. But Ore, on the second page,
Is
where we
correct.
said it was a duplicate, it's not.
It's not a duplicate. It is her herself.
So just for the sake of moving this along, I'm going to make a motion to approve of the Class 2 licenses, and then I'm going to list the applicants that have all of their sort of ducks in a row. So I'll make a motion to approve the Class 2 licenses for Sherms, Inc. at 32 Cushing Street, Island Street Automotive at 203 Island Street, Tom's Auto Transport Incorporated at 233 Canton Street, Sam's Getty Incorporated at 452 Canton Street, GE Getty at 584 Pearl Street, Stoughton Valero at 645 Washington Street, Lucky Star Petroleum at 825 Washington Street, Affordable Low Budget Vehicles at 907 Park Street, Stoughton Auto Body at 1069 Washington Street, Apex Auto Body at 1224 Park Street, Thompson Motors at 1254 Washington Street.
Tamsin.
Sorry, what did I say, Thompson?
Yeah.
Okay. Tamsin Motors at 1254 Washington Street. C&J Auto Body and Sales at 1264 Washington Street. Huggard and Ewing at 1305 Washington Street. Huggard Motors at 1317 Washington Street. Skyway Motor at 1378 Washington Street. LLC, is that correct, or is that a typo?
That's 1450 Washington Street, LLC.
Okay, 1450 Washington Street, LLC,
That's the name of the company?
also at
That's also owned by
1450
Huggard.
Washington Street. Finally, Richard John Greco Auto Sales at 1805 Turnpike Street.
And there is those two green ones that have no issues. The color just wasn't removed by accident.
Oh, okay.
Chambers?
So, and then also Chambers Motors at 1262 Building 1, Washington Street, and the new C&J Auto Body Trust at 1262 Building Number 2, Washington Street.
So you get down to Richard Greco Auto Sales,
Yes.
and you're stopping there for a minute?
Class two.
No, that was it
Class
for
twos.
Class 2s.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Thank goodness.
Can I,
Autograph
can I,
too?
can I ask that there's a list of updates to business licenses that includes Stoughton Valero and Lucky Star Petroleum. So can we pull those from this motion to consider them separately?
Sure.
Sure.
Can you just say them again and their addresses, Bob?
Stoughton Valero, 645 Washington Street. Lucky Star Petroleum, 825 Washington Street.
Can I ask about 907 Park Street, affordable low-budget vehicles? I don't believe they have a sign or anything outside their building. Part of the license was that there weren't going to be any cars advertised or showed, or they're all going to, inside a building, there was brokerages or whatever, but they constantly have cars up and down that street out in the lot. So I think that the town manager might want to just make a note of that. I'm not saying not to renew the license, I'm just saying that here's an opportunity to talk about it, but I see it all the time as I pass by that place, and they use 2 or 3 different properties, not just their own, to put cars out there with prices and stickers and, you know, A-framed sale signs and that kind of stuff, so. And it wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be, they rented space in a building and they were going to keep all the cars in the building, and that's not what's happening.
Okay, I'll check on it.
Do you want to have them come back? Do you want to?
No, I wouldn't say it's enough to hold up their licensing, but if, you know, if you feel a need to have them in front of the committee at some point, but I'm thinking it's an easy follow-up for you guys to,
Absolutely.
yeah. But if you need more weight behind that, then we certainly can schedule a hearing after that.
Absolutely. If we go out this week and I have a concern about that, or I can't just correct it simply with a discussion with them, then we would certainly bring them back to you.
Did your motion, Mr. Sullivan, include Empire Auto Group, 1873 Washington Street?
No.
No?
No, it didn't.
Okay. Any other discussion on that list? So, on the motion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 16, 17, 18. That would renew 18 Class 2 licenses. Would you check and make sure the count is right? The only 2 above, they are Richard John Greco Auto Sales,
17.
and everything above it?
Yeah, I have 17. Bob.
17.
All right.
Is that including Stoughton Valero and Lucky?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're right. So that's 17 licenses. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Mr. Sullivan?
Do you want to keep going, or do you want to take Class 2s, Stoughton Valero and Lucky Star?
Well, the reason I asked for both of those is that my own personal observations are that both sites are not in compliance with the conditions of the license. Lucky Star Petroleum, for example, has a requirement in the license on how many vehicles and where they can be. And I believe there are more, and they're out in the front. The notion behind the granting Class 2 licenses to, gas stations that have mechanics bays, of course, is to allow the mechanics to have an opportunity to, earn a living and make some money, but not to turn every service station into a used car lot. And that is why these limits were put. Over the weekend, I went by both of them, and for example, Lucky Star Petroleum, the cars were all out in front or on the side with price tags on them, and that is not what the license permitted. I know I voted against renewing that license last year because they were in violation. I would vote against it this year for the same reason.
Is that next to the VFW, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, for a while, I know that there were vehicles, or one vehicle with for sale signs right up next to the VFW building. And I get complaints about why.
And the property on the other side as well. I think we noted that during one of the parades.
And I get complaints about why is the whole main street of town turning into one giant used car lot. So the balance is, people can, should be encouraged to earn a living, and we support these businesses, but within the limits of what, actually, I think each of these license holders, when we had the hearings, accepted the conditions of the licenses when they were granted. And Stoughton Valero, my own personal observations are the same, that the vehicles are not kept and the numbers exceed what it is. So I thought we should discuss what to do. I certainly wouldn't expect the board to take my observations as testimony on whether to grant or not, but that's why I wanted to pull them.
Okay, well, I'll move on to Class 3 licenses then as well. So I'll make a motion to approve of the following Class 3 licenses for M&D Core Supply at 295 Canton Street, Central Auto Exchange Incorporated at 1152 Washington Street, and DLR Core Supply at 1186 Washington Street.
Second.
Any discussion?
Christine, the second.
Hearing none, all in favor of renewing the 3 Class 3 licenses as listed?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None, that's also unanimous.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve of the following club and all alcohol licenses for the following businesses: the Knights of Columbus at 14 Seaver Street, Club Incorporated at 21 Railroad Avenue. Sharon, is that the correct name? Club Incorporated?
It looks like it cut off.
It's got a
Portuguese National Club, yeah. Portuguese National Club Incorporated at 21 Railroad Avenue.
So we have a license that's in that name, et cetera, right?
Oh, yeah, it
Okay.
just got cut off.
Is that correct, Portuguese National Club? All
I'll have to, I'm trying to get over to this.
right, well, I'm going to skip that one for right now.
It is Portuguese National Club.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the only one there.
The Club Luis de Camões Incorporated at 76 Porter Street.
But that, okay, yep.
The Sons of Italy at 548 Washington Street. The Michael Romanuck, VFW Post 1645 at 837 Washington Street. The Club of San John Philharmonica Society Incorporated at 845 Washington Street. And the Charles H. Lane AmVets Post 1977 at 1575 Central Street.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion to approve renewals of the club and all alcohol licenses as listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, that's unanimous.
All right, moving on. I'll make a motion to approve of the following common victualler licenses for Target, Store T2258 at 1 Hawes Way, IKEA, located at 1 IKEA Way, Sunshine Brazilian Restaurant, located at 2 Canton Street, Dough Brazil Market Incorporated at 22 Porter Street, the Saint
Athanasius.
Athanasius. Thank you, Rick. The Saint Athanasius Central Street Pizzeria at 37 Dykeman Way, Roxanne's Taqueria LLC at 95 Sharon Street, Maxie's Deli at 117 Sharon Street, KFC Taco Bell at 265 Washington Street, Burger King number 27231 at 299 Washington Street, the Papagenos at 319 Washington Street, Lucky Pizza at 356 Washington Street, Miranda Bread at 358 Washington Street, Alltown Market at 372 Washington Street, Dunkin' Donuts at 438 Washington Street, Subway at 438 Washington Street, Chuck E. Cheese House of Pizza at 516 Washington Street, Perfect Taste at 530 Washington Street, Bob's Discount Furniture at 601 Technology Center Drive, Sonic Drive-In at 630 Washington Street, Brazil for You Incorporated at 646 Washington Street, Old Country Pizzeria at 668 Washington Street, Olivio's Grill and Pizzeria at 752 Washington Street, Stoughton Diner at 756 Washington Street, Kyoto Restaurant at 770, and actually, hold on one second. Kyoto Restaurant at 773 Washington Street, Pizzoni's at 839 Park Street, Stoughton Pizza at 875 Washington Street, the Dunkin' Donuts at 901 Technology Drive, Panera Bread at 1334 Park Street, Dunkin' Donuts at 1516 Turnpike Street, the Rook Mai Thai Cuisine at 1778 Washington Street, D'Angelo's Sandwich Shop at 2137 Central Street, and that's the last one. We have a lot of Dunkin' Donuts.
So the action we took on Old Country,
That was just a transfer of license.
okay, so it doesn't affect this license renewal at all? Two separate issues?
Two separate votes.
Be two separate votes.
Okay.
At 31.
I have one question about the Papagenos.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you. Papagenos at 319 Washington Street. It has a common vic, but you have two different numbers here, and 50 and 100. Did it pay both, or one or the other?
Hold on.
Papagenos at 319 Washington Street, and then
It's on page 2.
Yeah, the amount they paid, it has
Oh,
a...
he wrote two separate checks. He was supposed to put it all together, and he didn't realize that. So he wrote a check for 50 and a check for 100.
Common vic license only $50 though, right?
Common vic, but I think he had a machine in there, like a arcade or a toy thing, like going in amusements
Okay.
or entertainment.
Did you say you got 31?
I counted 31.
so that, but the entertainment license is a separate license.
Yeah, amusement, right?
Well, the motion included just for the common victualler license,
Right.
just,
All right,
Sure, okay.
And I got 31 as well.
So we'll need a separate motion for the amusement portion.
so we'll need a separate motion for the amusement license.
We got to vote on this one first, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the motion to approve the common vic licenses as listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? That's unanimous?
I'll keep going, and then we can.
You want to come
There are
back to the
others.
amusement license?
Yeah.
Sure.
So the next I'll make a motion to approve of the following common victualler and all alcohol licenses. So this is for Ming Du Restaurant at 657 Washington Street, TGI Fridays at 2 Hawes Way, Public House 02072 at 37 Monk Street, the Paris Cabaret / Starline Room Dinner Theater at 49 Monk Street, Chinatown at 103 Sharon Street, Amelia's at 217 Washington Street, Bob's Food Mart and Discount Liquor at 289 Park Street, Golden Palace Incorporated at 300 Washington Street, Smoky Bones Bar and Fire Grill at 301 Technology Center Drive, the Olive Garden Italian Restaurant, number 1659 at 401 Technology Center Drive, Foley's Backstreet Grill at 531 Pearl Street, and Alex's at 584 Washington Street.
Second.
Any discussion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh,
13, 7, 8.
12. What did I miss?
12, yeah, I got 12.
2, 3, 4, 5.
So starting at, oh, I'm sorry. That's correct.
12. On the motion, as seconded, to approve renewal of the 12th common victualler with all alcohol licenses as listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none? That's unanimous. Mr. Sullivan?
The next round is for, I'll make a motion to approve of the following common victualler / amusement licenses for Kid Sports at 11 Evans Drive.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, that's unanimous.
I'll make a motion to approve of the following common victualler and beer and wine licenses for Stoughton Ice Center at 57 French Street, Susu Sushi Japanese Restaurant at 408 Washington Street, and Mr. Chef's at 490 Washington Street.
Second.
Any discussion on the, hearing none, on the 4 common victual, no, 3 combined common victual and beer and wine license renewals? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, that's unanimous. Mr. Sullivan?
I'll make a motion to approve of the following Fortune license for Angela's Palm and Card Readings at 968 Central Street.
I'll second that, but I do have a question. The amount for the license is listed as a date. Can you just confirm, Sharon, that that was paid?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
The amount listed is, it accidentally copied over a date instead of a number.
So
Can you just confirm
It's
that,
the formatting, I'll have to,
It's a Y2K issue.
do you know,
So that should be $20. Yeah.
I think it's
$20?
just 20, but I will have to go in.
It was paid, though?
It was paid,
Okay,
absolutely.
that's fine.
have
I
a
just
check
wanted to
number,
confirm the
everything.
amount.
It just dropped the formatting from the rest of them.
That's all right.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to approve
In fact, I should have.
the fortune teller license at 968 Central Street?
Aye.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve of the following inn/alcohol license for Courtyard by Marriott at 200 Technology Center Drive.
Second.
Any discussion? On the motion,
Just a quick question, is that the only inn that needs to,
For all, yeah.
oh, okay, but there's a separate inn
There's lodging,
lodging?
yeah, because I sorted these by that column.
What about the other hotel that just opened up?
What other hotel just opened up?
Hampton?
What was it?
The Hampton?
The
Yeah.
Hampton?
they don't, apparently they don't need a license.
I seconded that.
And that may be because at the Courtyard by Marriott, they serve food, and they don't have a common victuals license.
Well, that's a good point, though. They're not on this list at all, are they?
All right, so on the motion to approve the in license and all alcohol license for the Courtyard Marriott.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous, approved.
Make a motion to approve of the following lodging licenses at for 118 Pleasant Street Realty Trust, located at 118 Pleasant Street, Fieldbrook House, located at 820 Washington Street, and Porter Street Holdings LLC, located at 99-101 Porter Street.
Second.
Can I ask the business name for the Pleasant Street Realty? What is that?
Sharon, do you have that, the business name for the 118 Pleasant Street business?
It is 118 Pleasant Street Realty and Trust.
That's the name of the company?
Yeah.
And it's a hotel?
Yep.
How do people know that it's a hotel?
It's, I think, just lodging.
It's a
I think
lodging,
it's like a room and
not a
board type
hotel.
of thing.
It's like a rooming house.
Okay, and is that the same status for, it's 118 Porter Street Holdings?
Yes.
Sounds like that should have a different classification.
And Mike, just so you know
Maybe.
that.
I'll look it up.
You asked me about Angela's, it is $20. I just found it on my math.
Good. That's it, thanks.
All right, so on the motion on these three lodging licenses, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? That's also unanimous.
Make a motion to approve of the following package/alcohol licenses for Central Liquors Mart at 21 Wyman Street, Andre Liquors at 280 Washington Street, New World Liquors at 676 Washington Street, BJ's Wholesale Club number 34 at 901 Technology Center Drive, Jimmy's Market at 253 Pleasant Street, Neighborhood Variety at 257 School Street, Andy's Market. Can you double-check the name on that one, Sharon?
It is under Andy's Market.
It's Andy's Market?
Yep,
Okay,
still
at
on the
330
master.
At 330 Morton Street. J&I Variety at 742 Washington Street. New store on the block at 430 Park Street. And Pinecrest Convenience at 450 Pearl Street.
Second.
Any discussion? On the motion, let me just,
10?
8.
I have
Okay,
10.
9.
Yeah, I got 10 too.
Do you? Then it's my count. Oh, yes, 1, 2, 3,
10.
8. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I have 10.
All right, on the motion to approve renewal of the 10 licenses as listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, that's unanimous. Mr. Sullivan?
I will make a motion to approve of the following pawn licenses for Empire Loan at 353 Washington Street and Gold Incorporated at 490 Washington Street.
Can I ask that we hold Empire Loan, that is on a list
Yeah.
Right.
of recommendations from the police department?
I think that was
I
the other
think,
one as
no.
well.
Are you sure? I think that's, you're confusing that with something else.
1873 Washington Street,
There was,
Empire Loan Group. Oh, Empire Auto, I'm sorry.
no, there was something about these
There is
There's
something about, right.
Empire.
Gold Crafters Exchange.
Oh, it's Goldcraft.
Yeah, that they're not open most of the time. There's a sign on the door, I guess,
Yeah, I
that
don't
says
think
that
it
they're...
was this one, though. I think we're
That's a
confusing
different,
it.
that's a different
Yeah, that's a different,
address.
and this, yeah.
Secondhand. It shows up a little bit further down the list.
Yeah, these are both flagged in color on the list, the ones
Okay.
that you're talking about. So I'll second the motion to approve these 2 pawn licenses.
Sorry about that. Any discussion on the motion to approve the 2 pawn shop licenses as listed? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No, that's unanimous.
Make a
5 to
motion, excuse me. I'll make a motion to approve of the following secondhand license for Unique Jewelers located at 14 Freeman Street.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? None, that's unanimous.
And the final one, Sharon, do you have an address for the Right Ride taxi, or is that,
I believe it's Norwood, and I will have to look it up for you. That was added at the last
again. Okay. We can start talking about the others if we want.
Yeah, do we want to just wait on that one until they
I think so.
What more do they need? I was,
Just the
need an
address.
address? I don't know where they operate out of.
I'm pretty positive
do you
it's,
have the application there? The address on the agenda lists the right side at 131 Edge Hill Road, Norwood.
it is Norwood.
Edge Hill Road.
Well, I'll make a
It's one
motion.
word.
I'll make a motion to approve of the taxi license for the right ride at 131 Edge Hill Road, Norwood, Mass.
Second.
Any discussion? On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Hold on, did you wish to be heard on the, is this just on the taxi license?
Well, just before you obviously move on, I either didn't hear it or it was skipped. On the page, Danino's Pizza LLC, was that approved or not?
No, we're going back to that one.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We're going back to that one.
Okay. And the other one, you did skip over, Stoughton House of, I'm assuming Brews, it just says paid us enough /. So I don't know what that means.
I don't, you said that was on the second page?
Actually, it's on the third, Sharon, at the bottom in the skinny blue strip.
Okay.
Yeah, this one
Yeah.
had also been flagged.
We didn't act on that one, Cynthia.
Yeah, we'll discuss it.
Again, I can't hear you.
We didn't vote on that one. We didn't approve that one yet. We skipped
That's
that
another
one.
one that paid the ABCC.
So
At least
is,
that's enough.
I mean, why not? What's wrong? I just ate there, I don't want to give up one of my
No,
places.
no, just an incomplete application.
Oh, okay.
We're going through the applications that aren't flagged with any issues and questions to get those done. And then we're going back over any applications that have a question or a comment to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought you weren't going to do that.
So we didn't take a vote on that last one? Right.
The taxi.
Well,
We did, okay.
you know, someone in the public raised a hand, and we did indicate this was going to be a hearing, although not a formal public hearing, so we took care of that. I hope you don't mind. So let's go back to the vote. All in favor of the renewal of the taxi license for the right side? Say yes.
Aye.
Yes. Any opposed? None? That's unanimous? All right, now, let's go through the exceptions one at a time. The first exceptions are the two Class 2 auto dealerships where there's a question as to whether they're in or out of compliance with the terms of the licenses.
So I'll make a motion that we direct the town manager to
Invest-
look into and make sure that they are in compliance with their current licenses.
Can you specify the they?
That is Stoughton Valero at 645 Washington Street and Lucky Star Petroleum at 825 Washington Street.
I'll second that.
Can we have a report, can you make a friendly amendment to have that report back for next week's meeting on December 18th?
Yeah, I accept that friendly amendment.
Thank you. Any discussion? On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? None, so that's unanimous. If that can be done for our packets on Friday, that would be great, but I understand if it's pushing it a little bit.
We'll do our best. I certainly will make that effort.
Now, the next exception I have is Empire Auto Group LLC. Is that the same as everyone else?
Yes.
All right, so Empire Auto Group LLC was listed as having an issue with taxes. And we have correspondence from the treasurer on that.
Looks like she's got an agreement with them.
The agreement's in the packet.
The agreement is in the packet. The agreement is dated December 4th. The arrearage was $2,604. And so it's a payment plan of $2,271.65 in $300 monthly payments starting January 2019. And then a balloon payment, August 2019, another balloon payment in May 2019.
Well, they need to be in business in order to make those payments. So I'll make a motion to approve of the Class 2 license for Empire Auto Group LLC at 1873 Washington Street, subject to the payments as outlined in the agreement with the Treasurer's Office.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, what exactly do you mean by subject to the payments? I want to make sure that we...
What was that, Steve? I'm sorry.
It's okay, what do you mean by subject to the payments?
They don't make the payment, then
Then they lose the license?
I don't know if we have the authority to do that, but I'm sure we could have a public hearing at that point.
Maybe subject to compliance with the payment agreement.
Do we need to add that to the motion?
Well,
Subject
I've been advised by town council that you either grant or
Yeah, we either grant or
don't
we don't. It
grant.
can't be-
You can't put conditions, but what we can do as a second motion is
We can check
request
in.
that the collector notify us if any of these payments is in arrears by, say, more than 15 days, and then we can decide if we want to
at that time.
commence revocation of the license.
All right, so I'll pull my motion. I'll make a motion to grant the Class 2 license for Empire Auto Group LLC, 1873 Washington Street. Then I'll make a follow-up motion.
All right, second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 That's unanimous.
I'll make a following motion that the Board of Selectmen is notified of any late payments made as part of the agreement with the Treasurer's Office for Empire Auto Group LLC.
Well, can I ask, it's not the late payment, it's the non-payment.
Is it failure to comply with the tax payment agreement?
What was that, Christine?
Failure to, notified of any failure to comply with the personal property tax payment agreement.
All right, I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion to request notification to the board of a failure of the Empire Auto Group LLC to comply with the personal property tax payment agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, that's unanimous. That takes us through page 1, I think. Anyone
Yeah,
else?
done with the page. One down.
The next exception I have is Stoughton Bakery at 29 Wyman Street. There is an issue waiting for a grease pump receipt. In the past, we have voted renewal of the license upon delivery of the missing document, in this case, a grease pump receipt to the satisfaction of the Board of Health. Is the town manager, is that okay with you?
I'm comfortable with that, absolutely.
And we'll get an update as these are
Well,
resolved?
Yeah, and then what we've done, and I'll work with Robin, is we'll get a rolling list, and the next list we get will be only the license renewals that are pending, still pending and not renewed.
So
I'll make
we-
a, sorry, Sharon, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve of the common victualler license for Stoughton Bakery located at 29 Wyman Street on the condition of receipt of a grease pump receipt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next exception I have is Juanita Restaurant, Inc. at 79 Canton Street, does own Grease Trap. So, I think it would be appropriate that if we want to have this license issue, it would be issued upon satisfactory inspection by the Board of Health. And the fire, don't you inspect grease traps too? No? No,
No, that would be Board of Health.
Board of Health.
I'll make a motion to approve of the common victualler license for Juanita Restaurant Incorporated at 79 Canton Street upon condition of an inspection of the grease trap by the Board of Health.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did we say we could add conditions?
We can put conditions for the license to spring, right? To issue administrative conditions.
Not to keep.
But not to retain it. So we couldn't say she could have her license until January 15th, but she loses it if she doesn't get a grease trap inspection. We can say that the office will issue the license upon delivery of a satisfactory report by the Board of Health
Great,
of the grease trap.
that makes sense.
So effectively, you are not granting the license tonight. You're
We're making
granting
it
it pending. It's really
administrative step.
pending as opposed to a condition.
Can't make it subject to delivery of Greek salads to Mike Sullivan.
That one
Yeah, I just
flies.
wanted to make sure that we were being consistent, and it sounds like we
Yeah,
absolutely
I think it's
are.
really pending as opposed to a condition. And it's just a nuance, but
Yep.
I think that's what it is.
Yep. Good.
All right, so on the motion to issue common victuals license to Juanita Restaurant, Inc. at 79 Canton Street, pending
Pen-
receipt or issuance by the Board of Health of a satisfactory inspection report on the grease trap.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's also unanimous. The next exception is Yummy House.
I think we have one more with Papagino's, right? We have the,
That's close.
They're closed.
Yeah,
We don't have to do
they're not,
anything, it's
they
closed.
pulled their application.
Yeah.
So,
no, this, it's the.
wait, no, I'm sorry.
It was the
no.
next Papagino's.
This is, the next Papagino's,
Oh, the
we held
amusement.
off for an amusement license.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to make that motion now, so we
Is
don't have
that
to
the
come
only
back?
additional amusement license?
That was the only
That I
one that
had,
wasn't?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve of the amusement license for Papagino's located at 319 Washington Street.
Any discussion?
Is that in addition to the common victuals?
Yes.
So it's
Yeah, we
now-
already did that
So
one.
now it's a common victualler
Slash
Two licenses.
slash amusement, okay.
Second, if it has already been seconded.
Everything was received for that application?
Sharon, everything received on the amusement application?
Yes.
Great,
Okay.
thanks. On the motion, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry, I forgot to vote, it's aye.
Christine, did you vote?
I did, yeah.
All right, so that's 5-0. Now can we do Yummy House? I just think that's a great name for a restaurant.
I know, I'll have to go there someday, sounds great.
Yummy House is indicating on the list there's a water and sewer issue. And on our
That might be
list,
taxes.
A bill?
and taxes?
I think that's what it is water and sewer bill.
Not taxes, but a bill.
There's the bill.
Do we have a report on that?
I
don't
wasn't
s-
provided.
I don't
one
see it in my,
from- No, I wasn't provided one from downstairs with Teresa.
I can't hear you.
Teresa did not provide me one from downstairs and treasurers.
How do we know there's a problem with water and
She
sewer?
sent me an email with the spreadsheet showing me which ones had certain problems, and I put it
But
in.
no dollar amount?
No dollar amount, no, it wasn't provided to me.
And no information, how many years? None of that.
No.
Can we direct the town manager to look into this for us?
We can.
Either that, or we could do another pending if you wanted,
And
so just pending payment.
to, the license to issue upon receipt of payment of all outstanding
Because it doesn't
water.
sound like this was an agreement. This sounds just like an I mean, I'm assuming if it doesn't have an agreement attached like the other one did, that it's an
Just said
outstanding.
outstanding.
It's an outstanding payment.
Plus, they have to
so-
come in front of Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Cavey, but,
We haven't seen any.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how much it's for, so.
yep. So, subject to proof of payment.
Yep.
Yep. Or receipt of payment.
So, do you want to make that motion, Rick?
Sure. This is to approve the common victuals license for Yummy House at 343 Washington Street, subject to settlement of any outstanding water sewer bills.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. There's a possibility this bill is, since we don't know how much it is, overwhelmingly huge, and they may need some sort of payment plan. I would just, as a friendly amendment, perhaps, add that it's either payment or a satisfactory agreement on a payment
I
plan.
thought I said in case they had to come in front of you and Mr. Sullivan.
I do know that she said she reached out to people, but that was all I got out of it.
Yeah.
So I'll accept that friendly amendment.
And the amendment is reaching a satisfactory payment plan?
Either paying in full or a plan for payment.
In this case, just a documented payment plan would be sufficient.
A schedule of payments.
Right.
Well, I think we'd want to see the payment agreement. Well, I mean, the treasurer would approve it, but
Well, if it's a payment plan over 3 quarters or something of that nature, then we wouldn't be able to issue the license until it
If you
was-
would prefer, because this is sort of up in the air, we don't know the amount, we could carry this one. Could we forward this one to the 18th? Would you prefer that?
Why don't we do that?
I think I'd rather do that. That way we can see the agreement, and then we can have that secondary follow-up motion that we did with the previous one if needed.
You might want to withdraw the motions and just, I can.
I'll
get
withdraw the
number.
motion.
If it's acceptable to the board, let's ask Sharon to notify the applicant that this renewal is continued until December 18th, 2018, that if we do not have information on a payment agreement or payment in full, that the license will not be renewed, which means that they will not be able to exercise a license after December 31st, 2018. That way, they will receive notice, which I think is the only fair thing to do, that we can't do anything to help them. We do not have a meeting scheduled after December 18th.
Motion so made.
I didn't mean all of that.
Yep.
I'll roll that into the same update with the 2 automotive, if you'd like, because those are in the same boat, pretty much.
Yeah, we don't need a motion for that, I just
Okay.
it's only fair to these license holders to let them know that, their business, their ability to conduct business under the license is in jeopardy, and we want to help them on December 18th if they can get us the information we need.
So we're tabling this, there's no motion needed, or?
A motion to continue to December 18th? Anyone want to make that?
Well, we'll do it at the end, the ones
Yeah,
that
of
are-
all of the open ones.
I would suggest that because we do have the affordable, the Stoughton auto, I think those would all collectively be tabled, as I'm hearing it.
So maybe at the end, we will just continue the hearing on, until
Right,
December 18th.
don't close it.
Yep.
Right.
All right, the next, so Yummy House is open. Wendy's, 355 Washington Street, Board of Health violation. Anti-choke certification is due by the end of the year. Business owner is aware.
I'll make a motion to approve of the common victualler, subject to certification of the Board of Health, anti-choke certification for the Wendy's comp at 355 Washington Street.
second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, that's 5-0. The next exception I have is McDonald's, 422 Washington Street. The notation is assembly inspections not approved.
Make a motion to approve of the common victualler license, subject to the
Do we know what assembly
I know.
inspections
What does
not
that mean?
approved means?
Board of Health?
It has to be, sounds like it.
Sharon, do we know what that means? Where did that come from?
I think that was also from Larry at the Board of Health.
That sounds like a Board of Health.
What's an assembly inspection?
I think it's aligned, right?
It's the line? Oh,
It's where they assemble the food.
oh,
A lot of
it's
it's
an
all
assembly
pre-cooked.
line.
So I'll make a motion to approve of the common victualler license, subject to the approval of an assembly inspection for McDonald's at 422 Washington Street.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Keep them going?
Did you vote?
Oh, sorry, aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's unanimous.
I'm reading ahead. It looks like this next one has two issues.
This is Aurea Love Story, 434 Pearl Street. It indicates grease trap done by landlord as one issue, and then again, Board of Health violation, anti-choke certification due end of year, and business owner is aware. So it
Maybe
would
we
seem
wanna
it'd be appropriate
Continue.
to continue until we get those.
Yeah.
Well, or do you want to do this as pending like you were doing the
Yeah,
other
we'll
ones?
just do it. I'll
Yeah.
make a
Yes.
motion to
Wait a minute,
approve.
wait a minute. Subject 2 items pending, or?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, both at once,
Both.
and they're both inspected.
As long as they produce both before the 31st, you would be okay.
I'll make a motion to approve of the common vic license for Aura Love Story Restaurant LLC at 434 Pearl Street, subject to receiving the anti-choke certification, as well as proper approval of the grease trap inspection.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No, that's 5-0. Approved. The next item, Peppercorns Cafe, 445 Central Street. And this would appear to be a grease trap issue. Landlord pumps, no receipt. Do we know anything more about what that is?
Is that a Board of Health?
No, that's from the actual business owner.
It's the YMCA, or is it?
That's the address of the YMCA.
I think, again, you could do it pending a receipt or an inspection, pending an inspection receipt.
A Board of Health inspection, though.
Yeah, I would imagine our Board of Health has to follow up on
So
that.
I'll make a motion that we approve of the common vic for Peppercorns Cafe at 445 Central Street, subject to approval of
You can just
the
say
Board
by
of
the Board of
Health.
Health, yeah, that's good enough.
Second.
Any discussion?
Unless it's not a grease trap, and then we would need to be notified of that.
What else are they pumping?
I don't know.
It's a restaurant, so they have to have it go somewhere.
Yeah, well, what if it's sewerage?
Well, it may be, it says landlord pump, so it may be a septic question that hasn't been cleared. But we'd have to have a receipt
I think
from
we need
whatever that is.
clarification.
Do you want a little more on that one? We can continue that one if you
Let's
like.
continue that one.
All right, I'll pull my motion.
All right, so your motion is withdrawn. All right, the next item is Danino's Pizza LLC at 545 Pearl Street. The notation is that the application added LLC to the name of the business.
That's something I was told after that you guys don't have to worry about. They have to put it in with somebody here just to change the name.
But
Add
that
the
would be a
LLC
new,
to it.
that would be a new licensee. It would have been a
It's the
license.
same name, they're just adding LLC, same family.
He's right, you changed the business name.
No, but it's a different legal person.
Right.
Um,
So we just need the application
You
and the
just need
business's
an
name?
they should bring in an application.
Could they just add LLC to the current app? Or do they need a change in business?
Well, they need a new license.
It's not a
So-
renewal, it's a new.
It's not a renewal, it's a new license. So can you contact them and ask them to bring in a new license application?
Yep.
And then I think, if it's all right, what we would do is approve the new license effective January 1.
Mhm.
And then there's no need for them to come in for a renewal.
Okay.
But it does have to be a separate document.
The LLC is a separate legal entity from a person.
It makes me want to go and find it. 545 Pearl Street.
So do we want to continue this until a new application's been received?
No, we just won't do anything because.
There's no valid applications
Yeah.
for renewal before
Yeah,
us
renewal,
Technically,
it's-
there's no
it's
application.
Entirely new.
because the applicant passed.
Here is their paperwork right here. Tino's Pizza LLC.
It's a renewal, right?
Yeah, that's what this is looking like to me. I was looking to see if there was a new app attached, but there's not.
And there's the prior there was the license in Mrs. Danino.
I'll have to pull the prior license.
All
I
right,
don't have
so
the one here.
why don't we just leave it, if it's all right, that if it was in, if the license they're operating now, under now, was in Mrs. Danino's name, then ask them to submit an application under Danino's Pizza LLC, effective January 1. And we'll just act on that and approve it.
I'm not seeing her name.
And if it's always been Danino's Pizza
I see Mark, I see Peter.
LLC or something else,
That's in the renewal, Rick, that you're looking at, isn't it?
and if you can investigate that and bring it, we'll put it on the agenda for next week, if it's ready for action, because it is a good renewal, it's just the paperwork is, needs to be lined up, we can just act on it. Okay?
Thank you.
So what action are we taking on this item?
Nothing. We're not doing
No
anything.
action. New license.
The next exception is Cherubin Enterprises for a common victuals license, 713 Washington Street. There's a personal property tax issue. We don't have any detail on that,
So,
People give me that information.
so we'll just continue
That's going to be
that.
continued then.
oh, wait a minute, why wouldn't you do what we've been doing, is approve it
We don't know
subject
what that means.
We don't know what it is.
personal property tax?
This
Same
would
as the
be,
Yummy House.
yeah, continued like the water sewer one, where we don't have a concrete number.
We don't know if it's $5, we don't know if it's $500,000.
Well, the pump was, we don't know if it's sewerage or grease,
But we also,
but we approved the outstanding bill one, subject to a payment plan for the water sewer.
we actually
I'm just saying,
changed.
if they,
We
this is
We
approved.
changed.
We didn't.
We changed.
We
We withdrew that motion. Yep.
Remember Steve added the friendly amendment to subject on a payment plan, and we decided we don't know what, we just didn't have enough information, so we tabled
Because
it.
we wanted to have a follow-up motion if necessary to say that we would get
I just want to
notified
make
of
sure
a
we're being
payment plan.
consistent here.
Yeah, so,
We have an
exactly.
outstanding bill, it seems like the practice has been to approve it subject to, but if now it's, we're not, we're going to
No,
continue or
If
table
we
it.
know what the bill is or the outstanding arrearages, and there's a payment plan or a sum certain, we've been saying the license can spring when that obligation is satisfied. If we know there's something owed, but not what it is, we're holding on action for
So
this.
can I request the town manager to get with the treasurer,
Yes.
collections, to
She-
get us...
she's already-
no, no,
she's
no,
already
no,
gonna do
in
that.
general.
Yes.
We're missing information here that's pertinent to these
Yes,
licenses, and we're
and-
wasting a lot of
No,
time.
she's following
And
up.
yes, so right now, Empire Auto, Yummy House are the two that we didn't have numbers for, and we will add this
Empire
one
Auto, I
as
think we
well.
did have numbers for. Didn't you have the backup for that one?
That was with the payment plan, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did two
Empire,
motions
you
for
had the
Empire.
numbers?
Yeah.
Okay. But Yummy House, we did not, and Cherubin, we do not.
There's probably going to be more, but we are being consistent.
All right. The next exception we have is the Corner Cafe, 945 Washington Street, and the comment is that the applicant does its own grease trap. So would that one also be, if the board please, that the license can issue
Pending.
pending Board of Health inspection, satisfactory results on the grease trap?
Motion so made.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So that's unanimous. The next exception, Zachary's Restaurant, 1778 Washington Street, there are two.
No, you skipped two.
Yeah,
Oh,
Diggs.
And,
Yeah,
Burger
Burger
King.
King.
I'm sorry, I'll go back. Dave's Local Diner, 1261 Park Street. All we have is non-compliance as a departmental question, so we don't know.
Sharon, do you have anything on that?
What confuses me about this is that we
There
approved
is a tab in here for Deegs.
their new license this year. They were inspected, they were in full compliance when they opened. They haven't been open more than a year. What could they be in non-compliance with?
There is a tab in this packet. That's what I'm looking for now.
They're in the tab in this packet?
In the big packet that was in your section for deeds, I believe is where you'll find it.
I didn't get
Just as
get any
non-compliance.
tabs.
Zachary. I think we gotta use color paper.
I don't have one for these.
Sharon, do you know what department sent that up?
I do not recall, that's why I'm looking for it. I got all different times from different people.
Do you want to continue that one until we can find more information on this? I don't want to tie the board up on something we don't have at our fingertips.
Yeah, I think we need more
Yeah,
information.
let me find more information on this. Do you want a motion to continue that one?
We'll just put it on when we go
The
through
continuation
again.
calendar, yep.
The next exception is Burger King at 1333 Park Street, outside septic failure.
I believe that they had to recently pump because of a septic failure. Mark was discussing that, Mr. Tisdale was discussing that with me today on an unrelated issue about septic and sewer. But I believe they did have to pump. We certainly could do something pending just an inspection of that, if you'd like.
A Board of Satisfactory inspection by the Board of Health?
We could do that.
Okay.
Motion so made.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just, this is at Burger King, 1333
1333 Park
Park
Street.
Street.
So for the common vic license to issue upon satisfactory completion of an inspection by the Board of Health.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now the next exception I have is Zachary's Restaurant, 1778 Washington Street. This is a common victuals license. There are two exceptions. One is proof of a grease pump, a satisfactory condition, and the second is certification of compliance with anti-choke instruction. This would fit into what we've done with previous to authorize the license to issue upon satisfactory proof by the Board of Health of compliance with the grease pump requirements and receipt of anti-choke certification by year end.
Yeah, motion so made.
Second.
Any discussion?
And there was a tab for sure on that one. I have that for Zachary's.
Yeah, this one's in there. It looks like they did not return the application with the appropriate fee. So I think that we're covered just by requesting that a...
What's it missing, Mr. Cavey? A fee?
This is from Mr. McGrath, Building Inspector, Zoning Officer, and he lists several businesses, and Zachary's is included. And he writes, "The following establishments to date have not returned the application with the appropriate fee, and therefore have not been inspected and approved for the required certificate of inspection." So with evidence of inspection, we're good to go.
Okay. So, on the motion, anything else to fix on the motion, Mr. Cavey, or are you good with it?
I'm happy with it.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. On the line for the Stoughton House of Brews, it's in blue.
Yep.
What does that
happened-
mean?
Well, what happened with that is they paid us what they were supposed to pay us, but they also paid the ABCC something, and they shouldn't have, so they overpaid. So that we're going back to the ABCC to get that money for them. We've already got enough, they paid more than they should.
Oh.
In other words, so it's not an issue that you have to handle.
So we don't
So
care
there's
about
nothing
their
wrong
payment.
with the
No,
application?
they're good.
It's all in order?
Everything's all in
So a
order.
motion is in order for
Yeah.
approval of the common victuals and all alcohol license for House of Brews at
Yep.
28 Porter Street.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed? We already handled Nicole's, but would you like to come up and do it again?
So, Mr.,
The next exception,
you still should vote in. Do you still want to do Nicole's subject to approval of inspections?
For consistency, I would recommend that you do on Nicole's, even though the license has been approved. Just-
well, we voted the alcohol license is what we voted. We didn't vote the common victuals
Right,
license.
and that would be the same as also pending inspection, which wouldn't occur
By
until
town
she's ready to
departments.
open
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
it needs a whole brand-new application package, right? Not a renewal.
Yeah, but it could, yeah, good point. Why would it be a renewal? Why would it be on this sheet?
But it's listed under the renewals.
I'm fine doing it tonight.
The only application we have that we considered under item 4 tonight, or 5 tonight, was the all alcohol
Yes.
license. We did not have a common victuals license application.
It says paid, so does the
They did.
2,100
They paid for
include common
everything.
vic?
They paid for everything.
Did they submit a common vic license?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh,
we did.
so we're basically just voting it conditional to all the different.
Yeah, but
Is this a new business license?
Yeah, new.
This is not a renewal, right? There's no
I
existing
would say
business that you're
technically it would
taking
be a
over.
renewal. We were open
Right.
one day this year.
Oh, the wedding?
We had a wedding,
Yeah, they're both
Under that business name?
correct, with inspections.
I'm looking at the application form, and the license category on the form that was filled out was all alcohol, on premises, general premises. There's not an application, I don't think there's a problem about renewing the common vic, it's just we don't have the application form for that.
So there was actually never a renewal mailed. So I came up and unfortunately, poor Sharon had just started and Reggie was on vacation.
What was the street? What number Washington Street?
Wyman,
Wyman.
63 Wyman. So we had phone calls back and forth with the ABCC and tried to get the correct paperwork, so it might just be a
Yeah.
missing paperwork.
All I'm saying is all we need is something signed that says common victuals license renewal.
Okay.
So,
I can
and
come
if
up
you can get
tomorrow
that,
if you want.
if you can get that to us, because it looks like you paid the fee already, you just
Correct.
didn't get the paper, and we'll put that for December 18th.
Okay, perfect.
You can come back if you want to, but you don't have to.
Yeah, I'll come tomorrow.
The next open item is the last shot, 559 Washington Street. There are two issues flagged. One is an objection by the fire department, and the second is a grease trap compliance issue. Chief, are you here for this one? Come on up.
So I think before you in your packages, you have a letter that I outlined, the concerns we have with the last shot. So back in April, Tom McGrath and myself sat down with the business owner and owner, and really what our concern was, I think last year when we saw the entertainment license, it had entertainment limited to music, vocal music, and up to 6 instruments in comedy. So a current concern for us is, back in 2004 with the Sprinkler Act law, this facility was actually exempt from putting in a sprinkler system because at the time, I believe it was the Mandarin restaurant. It was mainly a restaurant. So Tom and I both feel that the use has changed in this business. It's, you know, you're seeing these live bands being played, they're being advertised at this location. And most recently, and I don't know if it's an updated blog on their Facebook, is their function room is now open and can be rented, which I don't believe it was in the past. Their current occupancy is about 100, and I think on the license it says 178, 75. Building department has it at 168. So in today's building code, they would be considered an A3 use group, which would be restaurant, bar, and they'd have to sprinkle the building after a seating capacity of 50. But they were exempt by the fire chief at the time and the building commissioner at the time. But once again, we feel that that use has changed, so when we met with them, we wanted them to look into it. You know, they disagree. They feel they're mainly a restaurant, that, you know, their business is serving food. You know, it's more so than it is, you know, the bar side of the business. So we disagree with that. So what I was requesting or asking the board to do as a condition of this entertainment license, if it could be done, we'd like them to do a third-party existing building code review and let an outside third party determine what actually use they're at. So if that company comes back, architect or whoever they may hire, code specialist, and says we feel that they're strictly a restaurant, then we'll move on. If it comes back, well, even, let's just say they come back and they say it's strictly, we feel it's a restaurant use, okay? We can't make them sprinkle it at the time. But we certainly don't want them to have entertainment up to 6 instruments in that facility. So at that point, I would ask the board to limit their entertainment license to maybe, you know, up to 2 instruments, acoustical type of stuff that you might find at like the House of Brews, something like that. So, and if the code review comes back that, yeah, it's more of a nightclub, bar type of atmosphere, then we're gonna have to, you know, look, you know, move forward with, giving them an order to potentially sprinkle the building. And we would work with them, obviously, because they were exempt a while ago. They did some renovations in 2005, I think, where they actually put in a bigger bar or put in a bar. And at the time, Chief Jordan told them if their use changes, you're going to be putting in a sprinkler system. We're going to be requesting it. And that was the same recommendation of the building commissioner. So that's where we're at. So as a board, I don't know, I'm asking for a temporary entertainment license for 90 days to give them time to do this third-party review so we can take a look at it and go from there. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if the board can do that, but I think it's fair. I think obviously they should be, you know, paying for that third-party review. So that's basically where we're at. And let me read you the definition of a nightclub. And so an occupancy generally characterized by a combination of any of the following: no theatrical stage accessories other than a raised platform, low lighting levels, entertainment by a live band or recorded music generating above normal sound levels, later than average operating hours, I believe they're open till 1 a.m., tables and seating arranged or positioned so as to create ill-defined aisles, a specific area designed for dancing, service facilities for alcoholic beverages with limited food service. And we feel, the building commissioner, myself, that they meet a number of these things that would trigger them into like a nightclub type of occupancy.
Did you say they have dance floor space?
I believe they can make it, they clear a few tables, pitches that I've seen. I mean, they have dance classes I've seen. I was hoping a representative would be here from the last shot. They could sit beside me, because we're really not going after this business. We're willing to work with them, but God forbid something happens. We don't want the liability put on us.
But you said they just opened up a function room or announced that
Well, they have a function room off to the back side, but now they're advertising that it's open for a function room. And I think that's different from the last time when we met with them. So
function room food only, or?
I would assume it would be, you rent the hall, you rent the space, it would be mainly for food on that, for sure.
You determine the occupancy limits. Is that something that we can limit based on recommendations of our building inspectors?
So occupancy loads are determined by the building department based on square footage and type of occupancy. So certain types of occupancy, for every so many square feet, you can have like one person, and they figure it out that way.
So what would be a similar establishment in town that you think parallels it?
Well, that one's pretty unique. I don't know if there's anything similar to that. I mean, there's a number of clubs.
Like the barbecue place, or?
Moe's. Yeah, I think Moe's is actually a sprinklered building anyways. So if this building was sprinkled, we wouldn't be discussing this. You could give them that entertainment license up to 6 people. They could have a band in there. They could do the stuff that would fall under a nightclub, as long as it's sprinkled. So.
I'm looking at the list, and they don't show us having an entertainment license. Do they have an entertainment license?
So
what is all contingent? So we CV.
That would be all alcohol.
All alcohol.
So what I have listed for licenses is a common vic, all alcohol, amusement license, and then you'll see at the very bottom, if I have the same thing as you, entertainment limited to music. So they show an entertainment license because they're being charged $25. So
Do we have any establishments with entertainment licenses issued? Is that a classification? Because I don't see.
It's a classification, but they didn't make it in our
They have an
breakout.
entertainment license
They
on
do?
this, yeah.
They do? That's a separate category, though, right?
Yeah,
So we should make sure that we include that in the future.
I will have that updated. I didn't update that column yet.
If I might, though, I think the fire chief brings up a concern that I think the board needs to take some action or put some condition. I know we have to be careful on conditions with licenses, but given the concerns, given the appearance at least of a nightclub and the activities that they're doing, if they're having bands in, and we're not talking a single acoustic guitar band, and a function room with gathering, I would err on the side of caution. Per the fire chief's report, the square footage question becomes an interesting one, Mr. Sullivan, because it's not only the square footage, but it's the square footage if there are tables in a room versus if there aren't tables in a room. If they clear tables out, their capacity may go up, but I'm not sure if they've cleared that with a building official or not, if it's a function room. So I think there are a lot of parameters there that seem to yield a few more questions than answers. So I'm not sure if you want to do, as the fire chief said, give it pending if he's not concerned about an immediate safety issue, that if we did a 90-day or whatever it is, he may suggest that he's comfortable with. But again, I do think that given what's being posted, what's being shown publicly, the photographs, if the fire chief has a concern about that kind of gathering without proper sprinklering, I would not be comfortable with you all moving forward openly on that.
But if it has an entertainment license, I'm assuming that they're okay for all of that.
It depends what the license allows them to do.
I just asked Sharon to pull it up.
Yeah.
So on their license, it does give them permission to do that. So the way I look at it, right now, they're not in any violation because they have the licenses to do this.
But what would an inspection do to help you? What would the classification change to be to require sprinklers?
So basically, if they brought in a code review, where they're saying they're mainly a restaurant, their main focus is food.
But they're not, because they've got an entertainment license.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to play devil's advocate, Chief. I understand your concern, and I would agree wholeheartedly that if you got a nightclub, you want it sprinkled.
Yep.
But I'm just not sure that I'm hearing something that compels them to do that.
Have they agreed to the third-party building code analysis?
No, that's what I'm asking here.
Wants us to
So
compel them to do
that
that.
maybe this comes from the board, that, this is what we're looking for as a condition moving forward. And I don't even know if you can do that as a board. That's what I'm asking.
Any idea what they're looking at to upgrade their sprinkler system in the building? Is that, I don't know, is that a $10,000 bill?
So I would guess that depends on how open it is. One thing they do not have is the biggest cost of a sprinkler system is bringing it in from the street, because you're bringing in like a 4-inch main supply into the building. So you're opening up the street, you're doing permits through the town. I would guess that for this company, for this business, you're probably looking $50,000 to $75,000. It's not cheap, and that's why I was saying if it was determined that they needed to, that would work with them. And I just found online, there's a new tax incentive on the new tax laws that people that need to put in a sprinkler system can, I don't want to say write it off, but it's built in where it could really help them out in their business. It's almost like part of their real property when they're writing off their taxes.
Chief, the credit goes to that end of the table between Rick and Sharon. The entertainment license reads limited to music, vocal music, up to 6 instruments, and comedy.
And games.
Well, they've got
You get amusement, too.
Pool
They've got
table.
an amusement license,
Well, that's what that is.
one video
Oh,
game,
entertainment, yeah.
one pool table, and one jukebox.
Stuff you commonly don't find in a restaurant.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't think we have anything to tell us that we should take any additional action other than approve it.
So because we've granted it in the past and didn't notice it was an issue, we're going to grant it again, very well knowing it's a potential
Well, nothing's
safety
changed about
hazard.
the business, unfortunately, in my opinion.
No, and in the building code, it's pre-existing non-conforming. If they made some changes, then at that point, through a building
could
permit,
compel
we
them.
could make them do that. But I think if we don't do anything else, that the entertainment license is well above their type of occupancy, should have.
Would limiting that occupancy be something that you would be favorable to?
Limited the occupancy?
Yeah.
I only
No,
heard a
no.
discrepancy of like 8 or 10 people in the occupancy. One was 168, one was 175, or?
Yeah, so they're pretty close, between the
Yeah.
building department and...
Right.
And I'm sure at one time, when they get this license, they went through the building department, so it's close. So,
I want to be honest, I'm not sure if I really understand the concern here, because, I mean, the definition of big and nightclub doesn't preclude having an entertainment license or an alcohol license. In fact, it requires it. So I'm not really sure how you're saying, well, they have these licenses, so they must not be a nightclub. I think that they would have to be, right? They have to have a liquor license in order to serve liquor. And we-
Right, the issue is that they're not sprinklered, and the chief is
Yeah.
trying to figure out is that there's a way that we could help them achieve that kind of a status.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it sounds like, I agree with you, like, we have to look into this, and unfortunately, we're going to have to get more information.
so all I'm really asking for is, if you can do it, give us 90 days to approach them to have that third-party review done.
Yeah.
Maybe through the building department, he can issue that and have them do that, and then we can come back before that 90 days and go from there.
So,
I'm not asking you not issue anything tonight. I mean, status quo. It's just instead of, giving them a full year, if we can do the 90 days until we get this report back.
Chief, why are we, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but why are we seeing this now if Last Shot's been in business for, 10 years? And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean, we've had a building department in town Why is this an issue now? You mentioned the function room kind of coming online for them.
Yeah,
But why are we seeing it now?
If that's true, and, I'll have that conversation with them. I think to answer your question is because we were having some issues with compliance on their kitchen hood system and getting that inspected in a timely manner when it was supposed to. So when stuff like that happens, now you pull out the folder and you start looking at, the occupancy itself, the whole history, going over to the building department, pulling out all their files, when it was, when the sprinkler law came out, what was the town's ruling on that at the time? Like I said, it was, they were exempt from putting in a sprinkler system because their main function was a restaurant. The business at the time. I don't even think it was even them.
I would think the renewal would also prompt you to take a look at that again more closely.
Yeah, when we get these every year, I've been here 2.5 years, and it was a year ago that we started looking at it. I think at the last time, here's our list, any problems, give that to fire prevention, any issues with these occupancies. Well, yeah, we're having an issue with this one. Then we start looking.
You mentioned going from like a 6-piece entertainment band down to like a 2-piece. Is that going to change their occupancy or how many people are in the building?
No. But I don't think we should be allowing bands to be in a building that's is not adequately protected with a sprinkler system.
Yeah.
Are all facilities in town that have entertainment all sprinklered?
I'd have to see the entertainment list, but just tonight you had an applicant come before you on Wyman Street, and I drove by that facility, and it does look very nice. and to my surprise, because I'm not familiar with the building, you got a sprinkler connection right to the side of that building.
Yeah, but that would be a requirement because of the renovation.
Yeah.
So
It would be, and I don't know if that was there prior to the previous business, depending on the use. So.
Well, let me ask this question. They didn't add any decks or patios to that, right?
No. I think the building beside it did. They did some extensive exterior work, but I don't think interior.
I think the ultimate challenge with these becomes a broader question on the entertainment license and the general granting of entertainment licenses for 6 instruments or more, if you will, or a nightclub license, however we want to call that, because you have a bigger issue. These probably should likely be sprinklered. Do you grandfather, don't you grandfather? The cost of sprinklering is prohibitive, but on the flip side, the risks are great, as has been evidenced in different parts of the country, including Rhode Island, tragically. So it's a very sensitive issue. It's extremely costly, I understand that, but I do think, and again, I'm not trying to pick on any one business, but I think we are looking at a broader question. So we may need to, in the short term, decide what to do with this business, but I would recommend that the board take a look with the fire chief at this going forward as a potential outstanding problem.
Can I tell you what I'm hearing, and you tell me if I'm hearing wrong? What I'm hearing is that whatever was going on when these licenses were initially issued, over time, the nature of the business and the nature of the clientele has evolved, and now it's more active, it's more crowded. The space they're using is more than what they used when the licenses were initially granted, and that creates a safety hazard that you're worried about.
Correct. To us, to myself and the building commissioner, the use has changed in that building. So.
In what sense, though, Chief?
So.
The last shot's always been a bar.
Yeah, but but if you look at the parking lot, and when you drive by there, the place is jammed a lot more now than it used to be.
So we think that they're in violation of occupancy?
No, but we may be concerned that the occupancy they have is a safety issue.
So online, so when they're having an event, they have I don't understand the whole thing, but the way I look at it is how many guests are showing up. Yeah, we're going to be there, okay? I'm seeing in the last month 400 and something, 300 and something, 200 and something. And that may not be the case. It may be people just saying, yeah, I'm going to be there, I want to be there, and maybe they don't show up. We did a drive-by Friday when they were supposed to have, a decent band that they've had a couple times, and didn't appear that they were overcrowded or beyond their occupancy. But we didn't do we weren't going to go inside. We just did a drive-by just to check the parking lot to see. But when you see that online, on their Facebook, that there's 400 guests, and their occupancy is 175.
Then you should challenge that, Chief. You should
Right, and that's
point blank
exactly.
just challenge them on it.
And that was
That's
just
an
found
occupancy
out.
issue. Right. I don't think it's something, unfortunately, I don't, because they've got an occupancy certificate, they've got an entertainment license, they've got a common victuals license for all, for 176 people. So I'm not sure I'm seeing anything here that they're out of compliance with that would allow us to dictate them to do other than what they are doing in the establishment right now. I don't think that we also could compel them to pay for a study either.
Perhaps if you feel that way, if the board feels that way and you were to approve tonight, what we simply would do is have the chief follow up when we're seeing things on Facebook and have us keep an eye to ensure that they are in compliance. And we certainly could bring them up in front of the board, I'm presuming, if they're out of compliance at any point.
Well, my suggestion would also be that we take a look at the bylaw for entertainment licenses and see if we add in that stipulation that they're now at some point no longer grandfathered in. You got entertainment, then you're going to have a sprinkled facility.
I absolutely recommend that. I mean, grandfathering is understandable, but when you're talking about a public safety issue like the chief is bringing up, I think we need to take a hard look at that as a town.
If there are issues with their entertainment license and them bringing in too many occupants, maybe that's something that we also take separately than their common vic and their alcohol. Is there an issue when they are operating as sort of just say they are just operating as a bar and they're using their common vic and their alcohol license and it's at occupancy 175, is that still considered a safety issue because there's still no sprinklers?
It can't be, because those would be in conflict with each
If
other.
their main business is selling alcohol, then yes, it is. If people are going there more so for the bar than to eat, then it would be an issue. I mean, the building commissioner and myself could just, plainly say, give an order to sprinkle the building based on this, this, and this. We feel your use group has changed, that you're doing this. The business owner, building owner, could appeal it to the building board of, I think, regulations. And we could get a determination from there. They'd make the final. They'd say, no, they're a pre-existing non-conforming, they don't need this. And they can get the actual rule. And what we're looking to do is maybe help them out. Okay, prove us wrong. Get a review. Tell us, you're saying it's a restaurant. Okay, show us you're a restaurant. Have that report before us. And then, then at that point, I don't think we can. And we'd just have to wait until they did a major renovation of substantial size that would trigger something in the building code. So right now, Mr. Hill, to me, they're not in violation. They have licenses to do everything. They were exempt from the sprinkler system in 2004. And they've been status quo ever since. We just feel that their use over the years has changed.
This is a very difficult position for me, because on the one hand, I am thinking about what happened in Rhode Island 10, 15 years ago. But then on the other hand, I don't feel like we should be imposing this on a business they've been grandfathered in, they've been in business for 8 years or whatever it has been. And I remember going to the Last Shot 6, 7 years ago, and granted, I haven't been there recently. I don't think their usage has changed. It was a pretty lively bar at that time, especially during bands and whatnot. So I feel personally uncomfortable imposing this on a business that's been in operations for the past 7 or 8 years and imposing such a hefty fee and I'm sorry if this comes off disrespectful, at basically just a changing, and this isn't the right word, but changing whim of who we have in the building department and the chief at the time. And I know you're looking out for their safety, but can we look at occupancy? Can we reduce occupancy? Do we have that authority?
I would speak to the building commissioner, but I don't think so, based on the square footage and all that.
That's formula-based, that's usually
Yeah, it
pretty
is.
clearly outlined.
Yeah.
If we're posing a $150,000 potential bill, I'm sorry, that business is going to close.
And it's a hardship, and I'm not saying that that's going to be the end of what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Like I said, at a minimum,
Yeah.
I think the board should restrict their entertainment license.
And I'd be
Down
in
from-
favor of something like that.
That's ultimately, if the spirit of the business was that it was a restaurant bar and an acoustic guitar, or, you know, a guy with a bass and an acoustic guitar and a singer, something more like dinner entertainment, and you restricted the license that way, then I think it's less of a concern. It really is the license itself, as opposed to mandating that they sprinkler is prohibitive. And if they're not a nightclub, then we wouldn't be mandating that they sprinkler. If it's simply people having dinner and listening to somebody play a guitar.
Right.
That's a different type of entertainment.
So I think the issue I have is similar to Mr. Sullivan's in that we granted these licenses last year, the years before. They've been grandfathered in, as you mentioned. I think I was there probably 2 years ago. Granted, it wasn't dinner time, and it very much felt like a bar, and it was packed, you know, move the tables, there's entertainment there, people are dancing. So we've approved this, so we've kind of caught ourselves in a situation where, you know, we set a precedent that maybe, I'm not sure how we revisit it. So we could restrict their entertainment license, but it doesn't sort of make up for the previous approval of it in the current business that they have operating. So can you, Chief, do you know how much this third-party study would cost for them to complete?
I do not know the cost, but it shouldn't be a lot. I mean, it's a pretty basic type of thing. You know, this is the type of occupancy you have. You'd meet with them, you know, just review what they're doing as a business. You know, maybe someone would look at, okay, so what's your alcohol sales compared to food? And, you know, and if you see that alcohol sales are here and food's down here, then you're saying, okay, you know, you're really not a restaurant.
Yeah. Do we
Okay,
think
you're
that
serving food.
we could invite the Last Shot in to discuss their business and
Yeah, I'd be
see if
open
they'd
to
be
that.
open to the reduction in their entertainment license?
Well, I would think if they're telling us, that, you know, myself and the building commissioner, that we're a restaurant, okay, then they shouldn't be arguing that we're reducing, well, the board would reduce their entertainment license, because they're telling you exactly that.
Yeah.
We're not a nightclub, we're not a bar, we're a restaurant. Okay, why is a restaurant needs a band with 6 players in it?
We
I'm
can't
just-
treat them differently than any other businesses in town.
No.
So if you've given a license of that magnitude to other businesses of similar size or smaller,
Well, yeah,
Chief, I think that the business owners need to be engaged a little bit. I cannot imagine how we have the authority at all to put a condition on renewing a license if they pay for a third-party review of the operation. I think it would be great if they agreed to it, and I think it'd be best if the manager and you and the building commissioner and probably the police chief meet. I was on the board when the Whiplash event occurred, and then there were a host of issues with Whiplash. One of them was the tremendous overcrowding of that. It was being operated as a nightclub. The night there was an incident that led to the hearing here, the place was packed. People couldn't move. There was great concern by police and fire that if something happened in the building, there would be people trapped in the building. There were other issues in some other facilities that arose too. So I agree with Selectman Hill, we have to be a little more proactive on this. I think we should ask you to meet with the owner. I would expect the owner would not want to have bad things happen in his restaurant. And I would think with their restaurant, I would think that reasonable safety precautions could be agreed to, and that if the issue is that they're attracting more people, so business is good, but maybe too good, that discussions about what's a safe way to approach it before we can do anything. I agree with everybody. I don't think we can I don't think we have an option of giving a temporary extension. I don't think that we could do that unless there's notice to them and an opportunity to be heard. So doing anything other than acting on the application they have submitted is not before us. But you've put us on notice that this is a concern, and it's a concern that should be addressed. I don't know what the solution is, but I do know our ability to solve it is limited. And the first place I'd start, frankly, would be, have you talked with the owner? Have you explained the safety risks you see? Have you tried to work out an arrangement so that your safety risks are addressed to your satisfaction? And then the bigger picture zooming out is, what changes do we need in our bylaw to make sure that establishments aren't, when they grow, they don't grow to a condition where they become a safety issue? And if they do grow to that point, we have the ability to regulate them. Right now, I'm not aware of a single thing in our bylaw that allows us to do the kind of regulation you're asking for, especially on an application for renewal where they haven't been given notice that the allowed exercise of the license would be somehow curtailed. So I don't even think we could do that to them tonight, because it wouldn't be fair.
And that's fine. I mean, obviously, it's a concern. You know, you never want the liability to come back on the town, knowing, you know, that we know what we know. And so I will work with Tom, we'll work through the state. You know, in 2005, probably when they built that bar, and it was at a cost about $50,000, which was a lot of money at the time, it probably should have triggered a sprinkler system there. You know, we can't say, no, none of us, I wasn't around, you know, Tom wasn't around, but that probably would have been the tipping point on doing something at that point.
Yeah. We might want to also talk to town council as well and find out what other options we might have at our disposal.
I certainly think that, given the concern for the town as a whole, and I understand the board's concern from the liability for us with that business owner, I think the chief and I certainly, within the next few days, should sit with the business owner. I think this should be actually done as quickly as possible for us to discuss this further with the business owner, talk to town council. You know, I think the chief's being very, very fair in the sense of offering the third party, because frankly, we do have some authority. You know, the chief does have some authority to say you're not conforming anymore, and I think by offering the third party assessment, he's actually being very fair. But I do understand the concerns of the board that we've renewed this license right along.
We can't order it.
So I do think we have two things going on. As you said, we need to take the back step on looking at these entertainment licenses and what trips the change of use or the sort of upgrade in use to trip a sprinkler, which is a huge investment for a business owner, and quite frankly can put people out of business, which we don't want to do. But on the other hand, to protect the town and the public, I think in the short term, we certainly should very, very quickly meet with those owners. Again, the chief's giving them a very fair opportunity to bring in a third party when he has an awful lot of authority himself to
He's got tremendous authority.
push things.
I think that all I've heard so far is we're in a cost-benefit analysis, and how do we figure out what the balance is? Yeah. I think the point where we have to get in order to act is whether we hit that line of a public safety issue. And to me, public safety just puts everything else aside. So we need more information before we can act. And I don't know if I speak for everybody, but I would prefer that there be a gathering of the interested parties, try to work it out, try to come with a solution, and then look at the bigger picture, so that if we need to start regulating places like this through bylaws, we adopt a bylaw, everybody has notice in our bylaw of what it is, and then if that happens in the Springtown meeting, you know, it's adopted and there's a regulation. None of us wants to see anyone hurt or injured, and
I certainly am happy to work with the chief before the end of this week, if we can, to even sit down.
I agree with that, moving forward that direction.
Yeah.
What is it you're going to work with the chief on, if I might ask?
I'd like to talk directly. I haven't met the owners, and I would like to talk directly to the owners with the chief on their assessment of the use, why there are Facebook pictures that are appearing to show things that are nightclub related, if it's not a nightclub.
Well, I don't
and then
think
look
that
at
that
what we could
challenges
do
the
about
change
that.
of use. It challenges the occupancy limit.
It may, and I think,
But today, they're approved for up to 175 people with a six-piece band, serving food and alcohol, all alcohol, et cetera. So I'm worried that we're trying to impose something here that they're fully in compliance with. So I think that our challenge is to fix the bylaw and make sure people can come into compliance with it. And we can't treat them any differently than any other business in town.
Let me give you an example of a problem we had in a facility where it was overcrowded, above legal capacity. There was
occupancy.
There was a detail there, okay?
I know what you're
there was
talking
an
about.
issue.
Yeah.
And the response we got was, well, I was a detail there. I was there to keep the peace. I wasn't there to deal with occupancy. Occupancy is by a different group. Well, was there a call made to who's responsible to come in because there was, let's say, 5 million more people in the room than were allowed? No. That's some coordination, and I think public safety has an ability now, so that if there's a concern that a licensed facility is exceeding capacity, to deal with the overcrowding in the facility. And that's what I'm hearing is, we're concerned there are more people there than should be there because of the attraction of the place, which is good. And in order to keep the more people there who should be there safe, we need to start regulating the use rather than regulating or enforcing the occupancy.
and
That's one of the problems I'm hearing.
to
I'll
Mr.
get
Hill's,
you in a minute.
to Mr. Hill's point, if they are putting out there that they're expecting 300 or 400 people, then I think we are certainly within the realm of asking the question to them
Absolutely.
of, okay, you put out there that you're going to violate occupancy. You basically have publicly put that out there, if that's what's on a page. Now, they may say, look, we don't control what people check off that they're coming, and in the end, they didn't come, but I think we have to ask that question.
And if they're promoting it and getting that response, then maybe he says, fine, I'm going to
I'll have somebody there
I'm going to
every
have
Friday
somebody
night.
there to monitor, because if I make you have a police detail, the police detail, our experience is the police detail may not deal with overcrowding.
And I'm not fully familiar with bylaws in the town at this point, but I mean, the other option is, do we look at if there is a concern, is there a compromise of a fire detail as opposed to a sprinkler, which would be a whole lot cheaper? And I throw that out there as an option, but again, I don't know what the nuances of that are.
As part of the licensing, do we require a monitor on peak times?
I think, again, when we look at the entertainment licenses as a whole, this may be something we want to look at, that if they're falling into this category, maybe fire detail.
That's
is part of it.
fine if you're going to change the bylaw. You cannot impose that on an existing business with approved licensing. So, I've said your challenges here are, if you've got an issue with occupancy, go deal with it.
That's, yes.
Go find it, monitor it, and tag them if they do. If they said it was 400, now as a business owner, I said, well, I did. My capacity is 175, and with turnover, people coming and going, which I monitor all the time, it was over 400 people visited the
Which is fine,
establishment, not at one time.
Which is fine, yep.
So I'm saying,
I think that,
let me finish. Occupancy is an issue, chief, you need to go deal with that. Bylaws an issue, we need to deal with that as a board. And if you think that there's monitoring involved, then that's something that we'll have to talk about, but not something we can impose. Nor can we impose it on a consultant.
And that's fine. Like I said, I brought this before the board because I wasn't sure exactly what you could do during the licensing process. But I will tell you, other than occupancy, my biggest concern, and is why I'm here tonight, and what the letter states, is their entertainment license for up to 6 people. And I talked to Reggie, and I said, what level of entertainment does the town have? Now you're going back to the bylaw. I mean, what allows the board to say 2 people, acoustical? And what allows the board to say 6? There's got to be some guidelines too, that, okay, we'll allow up to 6, but obviously it's a sprinkled building. Well, no, it's not. Well, okay, then, well, we can't. These are our
Chief,
guidelines.
I don't see how the number of performers in a facility affects whether or not sprinklers need to be in the building. What I think affects is how many people are in the building, whether they're performers or not.
occupancy is the biggest thing.
And if the band is 6 people and they're a big draw and they're a big crowd,
I think that the spirit is the restaurant music is very different from the band music, and that impacts sort of what the spirit of that business is. But again, it's a broad question.
They have been a nightclub on Friday and Saturday nights forever. That's not a change in use. I'm sorry. I understand that.
I missed that.
They've been a nightclub on Saturdays and Fridays and Saturdays forever. They've had, that's what they do. During the week, Monday through Friday, during lunch and dinner, they serve food, but, because somebody verbally said, well, we primarily serve food. Well, during the bulk of their business hours, they do, but on Friday and Saturday night, they have entertainment and they're approved to do so. There's no change in use here that I can see or I'm hearing and I worry about that, because I agree with your premise here, that you're worried about the safety of the patrons and the workers in that building. That's the problem. And how do we handle that or manage that or help them work with that issue, because if they're one of the only places in town that have that set of circumstances, then, it behooves us to do what we can to facilitate whatever change we can. I don't know if there's been change in federal or state law because of some of the fires, not just the station nightclub, but others that have prompted change. I think Rhode Island's had a change in law, for sure, about, what's acceptable and what's not. But, our first step is bylaws need to be changed and updated and say, if you got a entertainment license or alcohol, you need to have it sprinkled. So anyways, I'm done. I've been on the soapbox for too long here, but, that's my 2 cents.
I would like to just, I think this is the fourth, fifth time I've tried to just interject here. I think that we don't have necessarily a disagreement on any of these points. I think we're all in agreement that there's not a whole lot we can do to limit the licenses they've asked for. At the same time, I think we've all agreed that hearing in the news or getting a call saying a bunch of 20-year-olds died in a fire is something that we are now aware is a possibility and something we have to take some responsibility for. And I think by moving this over to the town manager and then the fire chief to address that, speak with the owners, try to find a remedy so that everyone gets what they need and nobody dies, is, I think, is reasonable. And I don't think that's outside of what both Mr. Hill is asking for or the chairman or the fire chief or anybody else. I think we're actually all in agreement. Does anybody think we're not?
I'm just saying you can't treat them differently than anybody else.
No. Yeah, we're not.
Agreed.
All right, so we need to move ahead. Is this something we can get a report back on next week?
Yes, we'll work as quickly as we can, Chief.
Absolutely.
Well,
Prioritize this.
out of deference to the chief, I would ask that we make the last shot a hold item rather than vote it tonight, to see if there's a meeting with the owners, what solutions they might have, and maybe they would voluntarily deal with some of their applications so that they might make adjustments to address some of the chief's concerns. And it doesn't prejudice them if we
So
hold this.
do you want to categorize that as continuing for further information?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to vote against that. I just don't see there's no substantiation for it. I don't see why you can't continue having conversations with this business if you'd like, but I don't think there's anything you're going to get in that conversation that precludes them from getting the licenses that they've had, that we've approved and continue to approve. So I'm worried about this.
Can we get Cynthia?
Yeah, we will. I thought she was doing aerobics. Is everybody done?
Yeah.
Ms. Walsh?
The first thing is that the chair is correct. The licenses here tonight are for renewal. If you have an issue with any of the licenses other than that they haven't cleaned their grease traps, then they have to have a hearing where they're entitled to bring their attorney and present their case. What I see here is people mixing up a bylaw with a state law. People from Stoughton died in that Rhode Island fire. One of my students died. Another one was blind and lost both his hands. This is serious. Now, when this first became a state law, that's why the Stoughton Cinema closed, because they were serving alcohol in a building where they were allowing more than 99 people to assemble without a sprinkler system. That's illegal in the state of Massachusetts. Stoughton can't not obey that. Now, your predecessor, Chief, that man was nearly lynched because he went around and told people, you either reduce your seating to less than 100, or you put in a sprinkler system. Folks from his own ethnic background were in this hall, calling him every name they could in English and their language, because he was insistent that that law be obeyed. I don't know what happened here. Perhaps when that law was passed, this building was going through one of its vacant periods. It's in the, 45 years it's been in existence. It's been steakhouses, it's been Chinese restaurants. Yeah.
Another Chinese restaurant.
But the state law is clear. If you're serving alcohol, your capacity must be less than 100, unless you have a sprinkler system. There aren't any there's no grandfathering or anything else. Several places in Stoughton actually reduced their seating to comply with the law so they wouldn't have to put in a sprinkler system. One of the larger clubs had to put in a sprinkler system at an extremely high expense, because retrofitting a building is much more expensive than building a new club and just putting it in. So you can't just let this go by. As the chief has pointed out, after that fire, the city was sued by the victims' families. If you have an existing circumstance and you know it's dangerous, and it's not just dangerous for the patrons, as we just saw in Worcester, when firefighters show up, sometimes they die. So it isn't just the patrons. So right now, tonight, you can either not renew or renew, and if you don't renew, that man has a right, man or woman has a right to a hearing. But we can't just let this go by. The other thing is, town council could tell the chief, my understanding is if you believe a place has exceeded their capacity, and there should be a certificate right by the door or behind the bar that tells you the capacity. Not any firefighter. It has to be an officer, chief, deputy chief, captain, lieutenant, can go in and count the patrons. I would suggest bringing a police officer with me, but the police can't do this. It has to be the fire department. And if it's the capacity of that building is 160 and your person counts 161, then they're in violation. A lot of these places know their capacity. They have someone at the door. They're commonly called bouncers. They have clickers, and they make sure that they don't exceed the capacity, because an alcohol license is a very valuable thing. I haven't been in this place since it was a Chinese restaurant. It wasn't overcrowded, as I recall. But this is an issue that's so important. And town council needs to be involved to tell the chief what his rights are, and to tell you as a board what the state law is and how you can go about enforcing it. And obviously, the gentleman or lady has a right to a public hearing to know what you are going to require. And in the past, what was required is some places had to retrofit their buildings, and they did. Now, the town gave them a year to do that, because I believe it cost one club $100,000. So there's a little leeway there. But we can't just say, well, if it's been happening for 8 years, that's like saying if my dad molested me for 8 years, he could just keep doing it. Once you know a situation that bad exists, you need to do something.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh. I think she just kind of confirmed everything that we had already just discussed. So I think this needs to be continued to the next hearing. Rick, if you want to make a motion, I won't support it, but feel free to make your motion.
I won't make a motion to approve this with any stipulation.
So, when, in your report, because what we just heard calls into question this license at 175. So in your report, it might just be that we cannot issue a license for all alcohol for 175 people in a building that isn't sprinkled.
Which would correct an action of previous boards that somehow got through.
Right, so the question of Massachusetts state law is a valid one, and again, I think the chief, I certainly would defer to the chief on that. And again, in many cases where people have been given time to put sprinklers in, the alternative has been to ask, and sometimes they do it willingly, for a fire detail to be present on a night that they're going to be at capacity, or they have the night they're going to have a band, so on nightclub night. And again, I understand Mr. Hill's concern about picking out a business and requiring something, but if there's a question of Massachusetts law, that sort of takes that off the table. I think we need to find that out. You have options, you approve it tonight, but we're still going to follow through, and if they're in some way not compliance with state law or capacity, and I still would like to ask them the question, your Facebook page says 400, is that a rolling number or is that a hard number?
I think we cannot, based on what we've heard, I think that we should not do anything until we have an answer to the questions that have been posed. And it might be that based on what town council tells us, that, and I'm not questioning Ms. Walsh, I'm just saying you never know what the legal opinion would be. It might be that an all-alcohol license to a facility to this facility with 175 people might be permissible under the statute, and it might not. If it's not, I think it addresses directly some of the concerns the chief has, but we still need to engage the owner.
I would like to see state fire law on this and talk to the chief further about what some of the state laws say. But again, I understand we don't want to pick out a business. I think we have opened a broader question across the board anyway that needs to be dealt with. In the short term, chief and I can prioritize talking to this business owner, at least talking to them.
Yeah, and the last time we asked them in, they came in and spoke to, so it's not like they're avoiding us. Like I said, we brought them in for the discussion. This is what we think. They told us what they thought. We had asked them to, seek out, maybe, look at what a cost of a sprinkler system may be, because maybe it would be feasible as a business owner, because you can reduce, then you can do whatever you want. We're not telling you can't have a band, and your reduced insurance rates could help you out as well. Now you have a sprinklered building, and on top of that, now you have a tax incentive, so I'd really love to bring them in.
I just think we need to talk to them.
And address, bring all these new things up.
If you can let us know
Yes.
on Friday what the status of this is, even if it's not complete, just let us know where things are when we get our packets, and then we'll know for next Tuesday night how much more we've got to go. But particularly if there's a bright line test under state law for any amount of occupancy on this license, I think, that's important, and the operator should do it. I mean, should know it well.
I do know as a result of the sort of the infamous Rhode Island one, it was state law that stepped in on all of that. It took over municipal law.
The Coconut Grove fire just had its anniversary last week. Was it December 7th or December 6th was the Coconut Grove?
Right around there, beginning, yep.
Okay. And some of us parents knew people who were killed in that fire. So it's something that keeps coming back.
Every major fire, there's code changes. We saw that with Warwick.
So we'll stay in touch on this, and if you would make sure the owners are engaged, and we'll expect a follow-up report for
Absolutely.
on this. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief. Thanks, Chief.
Our next item.
Bob, real quick, on that same business owner, they did finally bring in a readable grease trap, so that could be crossed off.
Okay. On the...
So we are taking no action on this license renewal?
Taking no action.
All right, I just want to be on record saying that I disagree with that, that there's no reasonable expectation that we wouldn't renew this.
So if there's a state, well, never mind, okay. On Morrow's Barbecue, what's the water department has an issue. Is there an unpaid water bill?
It was a water bill.
Has it been paid?
No, I haven't gotten any information. That was all she provided me. That was Teresa as well.
We don't know the amount.
Nope.
So this, under what we've done, this would stay as an open item? Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, the next is Beantown Diner, assembly inspections not approved.
So this one had information in our package. And I believe this also fell under the note that said that they had not returned the application with the appropriate fee. And so, once again, keeping with our previous
So
MO.
this will be an open item?
Yeah, we'll keep this as actually, no, we can vote on this.
Subject to.
Yeah, subject to the,
Do you want to make the motion?
sure. We can make a motion for Beantown Diner at 593 Washington Street to approve the common vic and all alcohol license, provisional on the completion of an inspection.
Second.
Satisfactory completion of an inspection.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
I'm sorry, what action did we take on Morels?
We deferred that because it's an issue of water, but we don't know what the issue is. We don't know how much is owed, we don't know
We didn't
anything.
take any action.
So no
Took
action.
no action.
So this is like Yummies, that one's like the Yummies one.
Right, right. Avocados at 809 Washington Street is an application to renew a common victuals license and an all alcohol license. It is the Board of Health violation. They have not provided an anti-choke certification. This would be
Pending.
consistent with what we've done, a motion to approve on the provision that the Board of Health is satisfied with the anti-choke certification.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, that's unanimous. Stoughton Town Spa is color-coded. We didn't take any action, but there's no exception listed. Is that just because we wanted to talk about pizza?
They brought their information in, they're all set.
Their motion to approve that renewal?
So made?
Second?
That's for the common vic and all alcohol license at Stoughton Town Spa,
119 Washington Street.
1119 Washington Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Malone Catering, an all-alcohol and common victuals license at 1137 Park Street.
Did they overpay money to?
Yep,
Okay.
but I did not get their grease trap thing yet. No.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the common vic and all alcohol, subject to, for Malone Catering at 137 Park Street, subject to approval of their grease trap inspection.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. The next exception is the Chateau of Stoughton at 1165 Park Street. There's a failure of the septic system. Do we know the status of that?
They had the same issue as the Burger King in the same area, had a similar issue. So they were pumping, so we could just get an inspection. I would do that pending
It would be
inspection.
appropriate that the license issue upon receipt of a satisfactory inspection report from the Board of Health.
Second. Or motion so made.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
So we're just asking for them for certification that they're, what are we asking them for?
That
Board of
there's-
Health to
The Board of Health
Just
to
the Board of
inspect
Health
and
to
certify
inspect
that
it.
the septic issue is resolved.
Okay.
Next is the Village Pub and Restaurant at 1272 Washington Street. There are two issues. One is the anti-choke certification from the Board of Health, and the other is a private septic, no grease pumping. Do we know what that means?
They don't pump into the sewer.
They don't pump into the sewer? Nicole, how are you?
How are you?
I wondered why you were still there.
That was why. I figured I'd stick around.
Thank you.
Yes, that's on private septic, so it's not required to be pumped once a year as the ones going into the sewer are.
Okay. And where are you on the anti-choke certifications?
Needs to be done,
Needs to be done.
correct.
So, anyone want to make a motion?
Sure. Motion to approve the common vic and all alcohol license for the Village Pub and Restaurant, Inc. at 1272 Washington Street, provisional upon receipt of the anti-choke certification / Board of Health approval.
Second.
Any debate? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Just a quick
That's
question.
unanimous.
Quick question. Where are you guys located? Is this the near Town Spa down the street going towards Easton?
Yes, right across from Huggin and Ewing.
Okay.
under the shade of the cell tower.
Yes.
Do you guys have a full, well, you must, you have common vic. I've never really.
Full menu?
I'm going
Never
to,
been
your
to the
question?
Village Pub, I'm just kind of curious.
I'm going to endorse the grilled chicken sandwich.
Yes, we do have a full menu there.
Okay.
He used to do a big Toys for Tot thing for years and
He
years,
did,
yeah,
yes.
with the Marines. Yep.
Are you doing that this year?
Or not?
No?
There's a couple of places in town that do them too, so it's probably duplication, but.
All right. Sorry for the aside, I was just curious, I've
No.
been curious, so.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
On the next exception is Nagaya Sushi Inc., 811 Washington Street. All we have as an exception is water. Do we know anything
Water
about
bill.
that? A water bill, we don't know how much? So this goes down into keeping it as an open item.
I apologize for this. I'll ensure that you have these next time.
This was all provided at the same exact time, the water and sewer bills or any.
I remember that this had this issue last year, so if we could look at from what year this is from, and if they've had past issues as well, that would be helpful information.
The property owner was under a payment plan.
Correct.
And the payment plan required that if I remember correctly, rental receipts from this tenant all go to the payment. And we were assured that the water issue would never be an issue again.
Okay.
And when the license was granted, there was concern that it might affect the tenant because obviously if the water bill and sewer bill weren't paid, it would be an issue. So if that can be followed up on.
Yes.
The next is Page's Grocery and Liquor, Inc., 458 Pearl Street. The notation is building violation. I didn't see a comment to give us any.
I think there is a tab in there.
There's in there.
Package.
See.
Yeah, they put in a bottle recycling machine that wasn't approved or,
We're applied for.
no, they put it in. Yeah, they didn't apply for anything, right.
So it looks like there's two violations. So the first one, I recently noticed that you had installed bottle can redemption device in a steel shipping container. This was done without a building permit, in violation of state code, as neither a wiring permit was issued nor inspected. This is from our building inspector, I am considering this an unsafe structure under section 116.1 of 7E CMR.
Do we want to?
And the other one is to inform violation, town's sign regulations. There are currently 5 signs on the property. Only 1 sign was installed with a permit. I think that's it. This is also by our building inspector.
Do we want to make these licenses conditional on mitigation of these building violations?
I would go for that.
All right, I'll make the motion for Page's Grocery and Liquor, Inc. at 458 Pearl Street, that their package and all alcohol license is approved condition on mitigation of their building violations.
Second.
Well, can we be more exact that the licenses can issue upon certification by the building inspector that it's in compliance with the code?
Sure.
So on the motion, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, that's unanimous. And that, I think, brings us to the last page. JLS Numismatics at 31 Tosca Drive, Suite 22. We have no application for that, so we will take no action on that. That's a renewal. The next is the Selling Post Biz, 627 Washington Street. This is secondhand jewelry. We have reports from the police department and a recommendation against renewal.
Can I make a notice on the last one that under the reason for it is probably not appropriate?
Yeah. Agree.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
That's all right. So the police department's recommendation is in our materials. It's pretty detailed report by the deputy chief opposing renewal of this secondhand jewelry license. I don't know if there's any more to comment on.
Take no action until resolved with the police department. We need a vote to make that official?
Well, if we're not going to renew it, we should vote to not to renew it.
The statement by, and I apologize, this is a memo to the deputy chief from Sergeant O'Connor. And the statement is, I am in opposition to the license being renewed. Apparently, they are not providing the kind of records that the police department is supposed to receive concerning the sale of secondhand jewelry. My takeaway from the report is that they have the license and they're not complying with any of the requirements in order to hold the license. We did notify every applicant that there would be a public hearing, and, or not a public hearing, that there would be a hearing tonight, which was a departure from, I think, past practice. They would just submit. We could continue this and notify them that they should be here to answer these, or we could vote to approve or vote to disapprove.
I think we should probably continue and give them one more chance, because I'm inclined to disapprove, and I wouldn't mind giving them another opportunity to come and speak in their own defense.
So we'll notify them for the 18th?
I agree, but they should know that if they don't appear on that day, that they're in jeopardy of not having that license renewed.
Yeah.
All of the notices to anybody who has open issues will say, if your failure to appear may result in non-renewal of your license.
And this is the day you want them all to appear on the 18th?
No, not everybody, not all of these.
Just the ones that we have
Right.
questions
I mean, the
for.
ones that we have to find out the water
No,
bill
no,
is
that I
simply
know,
us.
that
Yeah.
I know.
But on anything that's in this category.
No, I know what you're talking about.
We have the same information. I'll turn now to Goldcrafter Exchange, 37 Dykeman Way. In this instance, we have a two-page letter from Sergeant O'Connor with a number of violations identified in his report and a strong opposition to both licenses. This is secondhand jewelry license and I think a pawn shop license. We should give them the same notice? Is that what the board would like? Okay.
Sorry, guys.
May I suggest that what we will do coming into the 18th is, as these issues that you've approved, the pendings, clear up, that we'll provide you an updated list next week of everything as they come in. The ones that have been continued, we will get you whatever numbers we need to get you, and then the 2 or 3 that we have to have the hearings, we'll ensure that we notify them that it is critical that they're here.
And the ones that have been approved, drop off the list.
Right, the completely approved ones are fine. Anything approved pending, we'll just clean up and leave anything
I'll
outstanding.
make a separate report altogether, so it's not all,
Yeah, and we'll get rid of the color coding and all that, so it's clean.
absolutely.
Can I make one more format
Sure.
suggestion, is that you put a number column in the left.
Yes, yeah, these aren't numbered.
Right,
Yeah.
'cause I understand how that'll
Yeah, they need to be
change when
numbered.
you do a different
No,
sort.
I agree.
And this
Yeah.
sort is just.
It's
item
easier to
number
reference them.
232, bang, that's what we're
Yep.
talking.
Yeah. Is there anything anyone else wishes to do on the licenses? Right, is there a motion to...
Yes, actually, just before we do, I want to make sure that the ones that I have, that we're continuing on, are the same one that everybody else has.
You wanted to proof it?
So,
Yeah.
You want to read through them?
do you want me to read the list?
Sure,
that-
yeah, that'd be
That
great,
we
yeah.
have, so I have Stoughton Valero, I have Lucky Star Petroleum.
Yep.
And they're being notified.
They will be notified because there's a question of violation on them. So they're going to be notified. Sharon, you've got note on those, that they're being notified? Stoughton Valero and Lucky Star Petroleum.
Well, they weren't notified originally, no, because this was something that...
No, we're going to
Yeah,
notify, yeah. Empire Auto, you just want an update on that one?
Well,
That was the-
affordable low-budget auto
That one
vehicles,
was-
you were going to check, you were going to follow up on that.
Yeah,
We approved
affordable,
it,
low
but-
budget. I have to see if they were parked cars there. We're not sure that they are in violation. And then going back, Empire Auto, you wanted to be notified if they were late payments?
Yes, as a follow-up motion.
Yep. Yummy House is a continuation until we find the numbers for you. Peppercorns, Deneno's, if I said that right?
Daninos.
Daninos. Cherubin, Dags, or Deegs?
Deegs, yeah.
Deegs. Morelli's,
Morels.
and then separately, the sushi place, it's more of a past issue question. Did they comply with what they were required to do last year?
We also have the last shot.
And then the last shot, do I have that written down? Oh, yeah, that's separate, the last shot, obviously. And then the Selling Post and Gold Crafter, they are going to be asked to appear. As are, so the appearances, we're going to notify Valero and Lucky Star Petroleum, as well as the Selling Post and Gold Crafter. Those are the 4 that are definite appearances, yes?
Yes.
Sharon, you got those 4?
I've got them, yep,
Excellent, thank you.
all highlighted.
All right, is there a motion to continue the hearing to December 18th?
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. We have, under item A, a water abatement for 50 Drinkwater Avenue. Item B is a water abatement for the Quail Run apartment. And item C is approval of a sale of a sewer bond in the amount of $100,000. We will have to read that into the record, so I'll pull item C.
Can I pull item A, just to?
Yeah. We have, there's been circulated a final, and thank you to the Water Committee, Selectman Cavey and Selectman Hill, Rick, and Sullivan for finishing that up. A water abatement agreement for the Quail Run project has been circulated. That's the only one left on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve item B on the consent agenda?
So made.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. 50 Drinkwater Avenue, Mr. Sullivan.
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, in the flurry of emails that we deal with every day, I just wanted to make sure I sent this to the rest of the board. The water abatement recommendations from the DPW. So it's over 2 different bill periods, fiscal 18, bill number 2, and bill number 3. And the amounts to be abated will be $471.92 on the first bill, and $535.43 are abated from that, the second bill. And it's following that similar logic that we used a couple of months ago, essentially 50-50, abating the bills in half, because the problem, I can't recall what it was for 50 Drinkwater, if it was a burst pipe or if it was a leaky toilet, but it was along the similar lines. So I just wanted to make sure the board had that, because I'm drowning in emails.
Can you give me that second dollar amount, 500 and?
Sure, Sharon, it was for $535.43.
Thank you.
So would you make a motion to, on the amounts of the abatements that we will vote?
Sure, I'll make a motion to abate for 50 Drinkwater Avenue, $471.92 on their fiscal year 18 second quarter bill, and $535.43 on their fiscal 18 third quarter bill.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's unanimous. And the sale of the sewer bond. So the motion is that the board vote that the sale of $100,000 sewer bond of the town dated December 17th, 2018 to the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority is approved, and the town treasurer or other appropriate town official is authorized to execute on behalf of the town a loan agreement and a financial assistance agreement with the authority with respect to the bond. The bond shall be payable without interest on November 15 of the years and in the principal amounts as follows. For 2019, $10,000, 2020, $10,000, 2021, $10,000, 2022, $10,000, 2023, $10,000, 2024, $10,000, 2025, $10,000, 2026, $10,000, 2027, $10,000, and 2028, $10,000. And further, that each member of the Board of Selectmen, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing vote. That's my motion.
Second.
Did we get a copy of that?
Can I repeat that?
I
No,
did,
no.
but I think it was.
Did we get a copy of that?
You did.
2 weeks ago. It was.
Looking
It was,
for
I think, November 26th. It was emailed by Paula.
Yeah.
I have no emails from November 26th. From Bill Rowe. Who would it come from, Paula?
I found it from Paula.
Paula?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. That concludes the public agenda for tonight. We have an executive session agenda that should not take long. Item 1 is to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the fire union, patrol union, police supervisors union, DPW union, dispatch union, professional and administrative union, the library union, and the town hall associates pursuant to general laws, chapter 30A, section 21A3. Next, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel pursuant to general laws, chapter 30A, section 21A2, the chief of police. And number 3, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property pursuant to general laws, chapter 38, section 21A6, regarding the following properties: the Soshan Railroad Depot on Wyman Street, the post office site between Porter and Wyman Streets, and the State Theater Building at 797 to 803 Washington Street. I find that it would be detrimental to the interests of the town to discuss these matters of strategy in a public session, and that doing so in an executive session is necessary. Is there a vote to go into executive session, or motion to go into executive session?
made.
on this
Second.
item? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Cavey?
Yes.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We will adjourn this evening's meeting from the executive session. We will not return to a public session. So that concludes tonight's public meeting. Thank you all, and good night.